We're cutting across. Not quite yet. Yeah, now we're across. No, we're good. Hi, everybody. We are live. Oh, wait, one sec. It must be my guest sounds. Give me 1 second. Let me just figure out. Hold on. This is my problem. This is a me problem. Give me 1 second. And now we're live, and now we have audio.
Okay, thank you, because the audience was starting to do puns about not being able to hear me.
No
there was a
Enigma.
yeah. That
Thanks,
shit ain't
Salad.
cute.
It's shame. There's like 3 good jokes in there.
This shit ain't cute. It's too early for puns. Good morning, everybody. We have a very special guest with us today, the one, the only MoMo O'Brien. But if there is another MoMo out there, it's hands on sight. There can only be one, like the plot of Jet Li's classic film, The One. Please tell me somebody else watched that.
I did, actually, when it came out.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Oh, in sight. So let's I guess go through the intros formally. I'm one of your hosts, Noir. You can find me Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, the whole thing as the Noir Enigma. And passing it off to you, Anita.
That's me. Hi, I'm Anita, or
Yeah.
Panita, or Critical Misses. This is my channel. You can find me here. And then, yeah, without any further ado, Momo, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, I'm Momo. I make content online about immersive experiences. So there's some LARPs, there's some theme parks. You can find like little pseudo documentaries on my YouTube channel, which is just Momo_O'Brien. There's a couple things coming out soon, like I'm doing a video about Disney World, which is exciting. I have footage for an immersive cocktail experience in London, which was so much fun. Like, it was a saloon, and you go in and they give you like cowboy hats and like a little shirt, and you can interact with the saloon manager and stuff. Oh, it was such a good time. But yeah, that is what I do.
And I have caught up on a lot of your content. I have to tell you, the first place that I found you was TikTok.
Cool.
Look, don't you cringe, because if you cringe, I'm gonna have to start to cringe.
I mean, like, you know, I believe that cringe culture is dead and whatnot, but like that first bit where I was on TikTok and like TikTok didn't take any videos down and it was possible to like form a community and interact with people and stuff, I had so much fun. It's like, it doesn't even matter to me if it was cringe, because I wasn't making it for anybody else. I was making it for me, and I wasn't cringing at the time, so like, whatever, you know?
Like, you were my gateway into a very wonderful side of TikTok where people actually took to their characters and like interacted with each other. It was so much fun to do. It inspired me to like dress up as a few of my D&D OCs and everything. And you're right, it kind of sucks now because TikTok is taking down everybody's videos. I don't get it, but again, I found a bunch of wonderful D&D players that way, and I'm so happy to see like all of you all doing so much more of the stuff. Like, y'all are killing it everywhere. It kind of makes me wish I started in TikTok.
Well, better late than never, you know? You said you had TikTok, right?
You're doing a lot better than me on TikTok. I have like 2 videos, one set to friends only.
But one of my questions to you is, the internet sucks. Where do people suck the hardest? Because you are killing it everywhere on TikTok, Instagram. Yeah, this is gonna be that kind of show. You're killing it on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter. I don't know about you, but I have had the biggest a-holes coming out of Twitter.
I was actually like, I was gonna be like, I think it's probably Twitter, but I've never personally interacted with the people that post on Pinterest. Pinterest is like, and just what, hear me out. Pinterest, in and of itself, the least toxic place on the internet. It's just vibes. Most of the outfit pictures like don't even have a face attached to it. It's all just like photography and art. And I go on there to feel inspired. It's the one social media site I have and actively use that I don't walk away from feeling like absolute shit. But I know half that site is populated by Karens who have live, laugh, love on their wall. So like I think the site itself is good for deterring toxicity, but I know that there's like a secret dark underlayer of Pinterest that I hope to never explore.
So it's a maze filled with Karens that you can't see. Now that I say that out loud, it's fucking
Like, I feel like if there was ever like a Dash Con, but for Pinterest, like there'd be some fucking wild stories coming out of that event.
I think,
you know?
I think the bonus to, I don't think, does Pinterest have like, doesn't have a comment section or anything like that.
No.
So I think that's probably the
what
best
adds.
reason why it's okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
But yeah, other than that, Twitter, because, you know, it's really hard to convey every complexity and nuance in 160 characters or less, and, you know.
I don't know,
it
I've had
takes
some
good
bad
engagement.
interactions on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't even count Facebook anymore when I consider social media. I probably should. That's probably like, you know, the thing I'm missing. But it's just like Facebook is just like, to me, I've conceded Facebook to the racists. Like, they can have it. Like, they, you know what, y'all here. It's not Facebook. I don't feel like it's worth the fight anymore.
I mean, like, Facebook started as like an address book that you could like post on, you know, like it was all the people that you knew personally, and I feel like all the other social medias are for like personas, you know.
Yeah.
So like that's why I don't really count it as like a social media.
Yeah, I suppose that's probably.
But yeah, it is trash.
Yeah, well, when
I agree
when I
with you
started
there.
Critical Misses, I posted like just on Twitter. There was a local thing that was like, what's a project that you want to work on, and what's a project that you want to do? I'm like, okay, well, I wanted to start a D&D group for gender marginalized people who, you know, want to get started with D&D but don't like want to deal with the boys club and game stores. It got cross-posted to Facebook. The Facebook comments were a lot worse than the Twitter comments.
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't surprise me. Like, I think as a I think generationally, the millennials and the Gen Zers, we've agreed on one thing, which is that boomers can have Facebook.
Yeah.
I just don't see it anymore. Hey, look, I honestly feel like, and then millennials are just like, we will split Snapchat with the Gen Zers. Half of us won't use it. Half of us will use it too much.
I use Facebook for messaging, and that's it. And when I scroll through my feed, it's like, I don't know, dramatic orchestral music starts playing in my head, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, it's bad.
Like, Oh Fortuna plays.
Yeah.
I feel like every time I go on Facebook, it ends with me seeing somebody I didn't want to see and seeing them say something I didn't want to read. And that's how I end my Facebook experience every time. Like, okay, that's enough.
I usually scroll until I see like a racist post by one of my cousins, and then I turn the whole thing off.
Yeah.
After blocking the cousin.
So my next question to you is, you come out with a lot of content.
Thank you.
How do you manage all of it?
I don't.
What the hell?
Next question.
What the hell is the saucy?
No,
like, I'll see like a YouTube video and then like Instagram post, and then like you're doing your thing on Twitter, and then you're also, you know, in your campaigns, and it's just like,
So, well, firstly, I'm not nearly as busy as, my social media, I think, implies, mostly because I've learned to form healthy boundaries with both the internet and myself. Last night I was like, I don't want to work on anything, man. I just want to watch Inuyasha and play Stardew Valley. And so I did. But also, the thing that takes up most of my time right now is Realms because it's very time consuming. But like whenever I'm working on Realms, I'm getting stressed out because I'm like, oh my God, I'm not posting anything on YouTube. And then like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my audience on YouTube because I'm not posting anything there unless I post something on Instagram. And it's like, that's just kind of the culture of content creation these days is like,
Yeah.
you got to sow all your seeds in like 10 different gardens. And it's scary and it's not great for mental health by any means. Like, and I don't post as much as like other artists that I look up to, like Ginny D. Ginny D is posting top quality content everywhere all the time. I believe that she has like some kind of like project manager role that's like helping her out or something.
Warlock patron.
I have to consider that I don't have, but still like that's the level that I want to be, but
I mean, honestly, I from the outside looking in, I can say that looking at you and Jenny, there doesn't seem to be a gap there. It's more like one of those, like, you ever see somebody that needs to, like, you ever, and pardon the explanation, my brain is broken, but it just feels like some people are just waiting for that right project to just get out of the park. It feels like that's where we're at with you in particular. Because you've built the foundation of it. You've got a solid base everywhere. So it's just like, honestly, have you and Jenny worked on anything together?
I produced a song for her a little bit ago. She came to me. I guess I gotta tell the whole story. So a friend of mine, the Azrai, in our group chat, because he is one of my best friends in this whole wide world, he's like, hey guys, I wrote a song, and then sent me this recording of him just singing and playing it on his Merlin dulcimer. And I was like, can you record this to a metronome and send it to me? And so he did. And I am very extra. So I took that and I added strings and like a bass line and drums and a little piano and stuff. And I basically just like produced the track and I sent it back. Right. It's now on Spotify. If you'd like to listen to it, it's called These Bones. And I cannot listen to it without crying. It's such a beautiful piece and I feel so honored that he let me be a part of it. But a few months later, Ginny came to me and she was like, hey, can you do the same thing? I was like, hell yeah. And she had written an original song based on Animal Crossing, which I was also obsessed with at the time. And so same thing, she just sent me her vocals and I added a whole bunch of instruments and stuff. And so that's on her channel right now. And I believe it's also on Spotify. And I think what I told her at the time was like, if you don't feel like this should be in a Ghibli movie, I will not have done my job. And she said, oh my God, it totally does sound like that. And like, there are things that I would have done differently on that track, but I think it's still nice and soft and very relaxing and it sounds like Animal Crossing. So to answer your question, yes. And I would love to do stuff with her again in the future, but we're both so busy.
So I didn't know that music producer was one of the hats that you have. Look, I gotta ask, what's your DAW? Do you use Logitech, GarageBand?
I use GarageBand. I'm not proud to admit that because I know that like Logitech is the bigger one, but like GarageBand is what I know. And so
there's absolutely nothing wrong with GarageBand. People have won Grammys off of producing off of GarageBand, so it's official. Like, people have to respect it. And honestly, it's just like it's barely look. Logic is the grown-up version of GarageBand, but you can do everything you need to with GarageBand. Sorry, I've had this argument a lot, so I'm glad
to hear it. I think I would like to use Logitech in the future just because I don't know what is wrong with me. It is impossible for me to sing in tune, and it's the most frustrating thing in the universe. So I'd like to get into a different program so I could auto-tune myself, if I'm being completely honest. Because I love to sing, but I'm also like so picky and it becomes very frustrating when I'm trying to produce my own track and I like can't sing perfectly on tune, you know. But I in that department I'm like completely self-taught, and you know, I guess it is one of many hats I wear, but they're very mediocre hats. You know,
If you wear enough of them, you just overwhelm people with the fact that you have 1,000 hats on.
yeah, I also am very weirded out by a person who wears multiple hats.
Like if you come to the party with 32 hats on, nobody's checking the quality. It's just this guy came in with 32 hats on. It's kind of weird.
Oh my god, I want to go to like the later end of a party, but just have a bunch of hats in my bag and just like I need everybody at this party to like already be sloshed. And I just want to like go to the bathroom and come out with a different hat every single time just so I can see people be like like as the night goes on, then just like have to bring it up to me at some point like, were you wearing a different hat at one point?
Just say,
Anyway.
yes, I wear many hats, and then smoke bomb and leave.
Sorry. That's exactly my kind of dumbass humor. Alright. So, so tell us more about your actual play. I want to hear how that's gotten started. How long have you all been playing? You know, just in general. Oh, and also where we can find you.
Ah, yes. Thus begins the Realms Apart TED Talk. So, a little before quarantine, maybe like a few months, me and all my friends had a private game of D&D that we loved very dearly. But there came a point where we were like, guys, this is too cool to not be sharing, if we're being honest. And so, you know that meme that's like, oh, started making it, had a breakdown, bon appetit. That's what happened. Realms is birthed from not the best mental health period I've ever had, but we ended up making something cool. So what it is I record the audio from our D&D sessions, and I edit it to hell. I add soundscapes and music, and I mess with the dialogue. Like a lot of it ends up getting cut out so that especially the more serious scenes sound a little bit more like, you know, actual dialogue that sounds a little bit more scripted. And then I take that and I add slide animatics. So I take our character art and I liquefy it in Photoshop so that we can like, our characters can emote and you can see them in their environment. And our D&D podcast ends up reading a little bit more like watching an animated show than it does a D&D podcast. Now, I ended up doing this because I can't get into D&D podcasts. I don't know if it's the potential ADHD that I have to look into or just my attention span or whatever, but every time I try to get into a D&D podcast, I always like get distracted and I'm like, wait, where are we? What is happening? How am I supposed to be feeling right now? And so I found I could listen to Critical Role, but I'd have to, on a different tab, bring up the character art so that I could see the actors' voices coming out of their characters and like getting emotionally attached to their characters as opposed to just them sitting at a table. And so that was kind of the inspiration for what Realms is now. But if the heavily edited and pseudo animated show is not your thing, we also have the live play over on twitch.tv/ScappyRooster. So if you're interested in, you know, something more typical, like most other live plays like Critical Role, you can see that as well. And you can see what it sounds like before I go in and edit it to shit.
We've actually got a couple samples.
Else to say?
Got a couple clips of it if you wanted to play them.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, you have to play them.
I mean,
I don't know how to do that.
That's what I've got it queued up if you like. we can
Yeah, sure.
show the audience what we've got here.
And everybody, real quick, link the chat. It's Scabby Rooster. Go ahead and show them some love.
The Scabby Rooster team is also Fabienne, who plays Saray, who's our elvish monk, and our DM, Nox, who is absolutely incredible.
Awesome.
That's a badass name for a DM, though. Nox.
Yeah. He's a real-life wizard, I'm fully convinced.
So we'll just...
Maglo, you were the one who was mostly tracking the obelisk, and the obelisk looks to you, and before it leaps off, it reforms into this horrid mixture of Saray with like Doddle's head next to Saray's head, and it kind of whips around.
Hey, before you go.
Where is the goldfish?
Good. I'm glad you asked. We have it firmly on our person, and as you can see from the state of your boat, that we're gonna keep hold of it. If you go find your man, the beholder, you tell him that we're coming for him.
And like it just kind of leans backward and falls out of sight as the whole form, like a jellyfish, slides off the end of the ship and disappears down off the side of the ship, with a sickening trail of slime left behind. And you are currently alone on the top of the ship, and there is a creaking noise as a giant rope above you shreds and snaps. And the entire thing sways once more.
Did Max see where Doddle...
Doddle, do you want to help me with something?
Sure. Depends on what.
Come closer to the bar. Go to your bar.
I get as far. I put my ear outside the bar, because I think that's all that'll fit.
Doddle, do you want to help get out of here?
I'm afraid not, Juniper Creed. I'm in a bit of a mess at the minute, if that is not abundantly clear, and I'm actually hoping that by going right to the top, even if by accident somebody here might be able to help me.
Do you trust people that much?
I don't not trust people, especially not ones I haven't met yet.
The door on the far end of this corridor, this block of cells, opens, creaks with a powerful strain as the
That is
And
so
we're back.
That is so fucking cool.
So the incredible character art is done by an amazing artist that goes by Salix on Instagram. It's Saillix, I believe. And they do incredible work. Yeah,
That's so good.
that's what Realms is.
Oh my goodness. So whoever did the artwork, your character looks just like you. I'm sorry.
Did you say your character looks just like you?
Yeah.
Yeah, for a lot of us, you can tell that she took a lot of inspiration for like our actual faces, which like I don't even mind because it makes like our voices coming out of them a little bit more believable. Also, my character Dottle is an elvish princess that was transformed into a goblin, and I actually cosplayed the like elvish version of her a couple times, and I think Salix like used that directly as reference for the elvish version of Dottle. There's like obviously differences, but you can tell that she took a lot of inspiration, which I think is kind of sweet because I think a big part of this campaign, because we're playing it with friends, like all people that we're really comfortable with and love very dearly, there is a lot of like healthy bleed that happens, and it's a very personal game to us. So the fact that our faces kind of resemble each other is very sweet. I like it.
Again, here's the link for Scabby Roosters. Scabby Roosters. I can't say the word.
Scabby Rooster?
Yes, that's the word.
Yeah.
Please go give them a follow, because that's just dope.
So that's where the live play happens, where you can see all of our beautiful faces, and I usually take out any like any long drawn out dialogue that's like us trying to decide on a thing before we actually decide on it. A lot of like mechanics stuff has been taken out. So if you want to see like the raw version of what Realms is like before I go in and do this, you can do that on see that on Scabby Rooster. The podcast is on Spotify, and the animatics are on YouTube.
Amazing. And under Scabby Rooster as well on YouTube?
No, Realms Apart.
Realms Apart.
Realms_apart, I believe.
Cool.
So how long does it take? Well, how long does that process take you?
So remember how I said that this was birthed from like not the best mental health moment for me? I lost my job in quarantine. It's fine. They actually like asked me to come back a little bit later, and I was like, no, I'm gonna focus on staying inside, because like I'm very blessed to have a good support system on Patreon that allowed me to, while I'm living with my parents because my lease was up mid-quarantine, do content creation full time. So, a lot of things just lined up, and I was like, well, this is like a passion project of mine, because I'm essentially making the kind of D&D podcast that I wanted in the world. And so it does take a lot of time. The editing, the audio, usually takes like maybe a day or two to do, but I love doing the audio. Like I can just listen to it while I play like Animal Crossing or something, and pretty much all I have to do now that I've got the hang of it is I just like add in a soundscape or music, or like if I come across a scene that has like a lot of significance, I'll edit it a little more thoroughly. The animatics take like 3 to 4 days, and it's a little frustrating. I don't think we'll be doing the animatics forever, unfortunately, unless our Patreons jump up and I can actually do this like full time, which I don't think is going to be a thing. But we're laying a lot of the groundwork, because there's so much more story you can tell when you're looking into a character's eyes as opposed to just a bunch of friends sitting around a table. There's like true. You feel so much more connected to the story when you're looking at the characters in their situations and in their environment. And I did with Realms what I do with a lot of my like especially LARP content, is I want to convey how it feels to be at an event, not just how it looks. So that's the inspiration for Realms and how it came to be.
We actually have a question in chat for you, which is Azrai going on to Realms?
Azrai, it is. So the way we did Realms was a little funky. We started recording our private sessions right away because we knew we wanted to make it a D&D podcast, and I knew I wanted to edit it, but we were still like developing the style. A couple of us were like waiting on mics because we just used like our headphone mic before, but we're like, oh, we gotta be professionals now. So like we started recording right away while we were figuring stuff out. So around the episode called Jailbreak, you can hear the audio quality dip a little bit, and that is why. And then a couple sessions in, Az, who is our dear friend, wanted to join, and so they joined as their pirate character. A few episodes after that, another friend of ours, Kaza, joined, and then after Kaza and Az had joined, we were like, guys, we want to like onboard people onto the experience. Like I especially didn't want people to come into the story and start at chapter 12. I wanted them to start at chapter 1, because that's where so much important exposition and like groundwork for the rest of the character development and the story happens, and I didn't want to just skip it. So we filmed a bunch of prequel episodes. So we went back and I'm not going to say recreated the first few sessions of our campaign, because it was still all improv and like knocks through some new things at us. So it did actually feel like a fresh new game of D&D, but we recorded that so people could have, an introduction to how our characters met and how we stumbled upon this like great grand adventure that we're on and whatnot. So Az is a part of Realms. Just there's a gap in the episodes where they're not there, but actually the episode coming out in a few days is the first one that Az joined. So after that, his character Calder Grail, the young pirate lad, is going to be a part of the campaign going forward.
This is more a question of everybody's opinion, but I don't find anything wrong with recreating sessions if it's to do something cool with the story. How do y'all feel about that?
I'm cool with it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like I'm also cool with it, but like I also like I think Realms works well because everyone at that table has fun by telling a story. Like it took me a while to even wrap my head around the mechanics and such of D&D, because like I was like, I just want to tell a story with my friends, and this is like a method to do it. I'm like, I know how to play D. I know I can spell sculpt and stuff now. So like, Nox, get ready to remove a couple figures from the board next time we fight. But when we started, I was like, I want to challenge myself and I want to improvise a story, which is how I find fulfillment and like how I have fun. So I literally don't care like if we recreate stuff, because we're still like improvising a story and like the most important part of the story. But if that is something you do care about, like I said, it's all still improvised. Like a lot of the story is like a little loosey-goosey. Like the transition that we had starts mid-fight. And in the prequel episode, we started the fight, but I was like outside of my jail cell at the time. And then we go into the next episode and I'm inside the jail cell. So like things like that happened because it is still all improvised and not scripted. And we weren't just like going from point A to point B. Like we still were playing the game, which was very important to Nox. So, if you do care, we took that into consideration.
Oh, what level campaign is this right now?
We are level 6. Captain Krail can correct me in the comments if I'm messing that up. And we level up so slowly in this campaign, because as Nox...
Oh, you're level 8.
Level 8, okay. Nox explained it to us at one point. He thinks that like after... There's like a certain window of leveling, and he thinks that anything below or above that is kind of just like number soup. So he wants the campaign to be gradual, which like I don't really mind, because it all of our character development is as well very gradual. Like all of the editing and stuff that I do is made to emulate an animated show, but also the pacing of the game itself feels very much like an animated show. Like all of our character development is very slow, and our interactions, there's a lot of build up, and we have a lot of really talented storytellers and role players at our table that make it feel like we're scripting something deep. So most of the time it's not deep; it's all just fart jokes. And
so our elf turned goblin, what class?
Wizard is the class, right? I'm not messing that up. I'm so scared I'm gonna get tweets about stuff.
Spellcasting through book.
Yeah. Oh my god, yeah, I know what a wizard is.
Yeah, wizard.
I was just like, wizard is the
Yeah.
class, right? Like, I
Yes.
haven't finished my coffee yet. That's what I mean.
Yes.
Yes, she is. She
You're
is
gonna
a
get
wizard.
your own. You're gonna get your own fans gatekeeping you. Like,
I sent you guys another clip, which you don't actually have to play. But in it, my goblin wizard casts Fireball, and then I remembered that I had Fury of the Small, which is a goblin feat that added like 7 extra damage to that. And this was before I kind of like could wrap my head around a lot of D&D stuff. And Nox just kind of laughed and went, "You added Fury of the Small to your fireball attack." And I get why that's funny now, because like a goblin wizard is like, it's not exactly the most min-maxy character, but like I wrote the character as if I was writing a character for a book, and then I just kind of fit her into whatever parameters D&D like allowed me. And I remember we had like a moment where one character was like, "Oh, but you did magic before, yes?" And I was like, "No!" And then Nox had to like message me later and be like, "Hey, so how wizards work is you had to have studied magic in order to do magic." And I was like, "Oh, I knew the mechanics because I watched Caleb Widowgast so much." So we had to like almost rework my character a little bit in order to fit with the fact that I didn't know how to play D&D. But we made it this like whole scene where she gets her spell book, which is like a cookbook from a tavern that they stayed in, and it like
yes.
it ended up having so much more like character significance that way. And how the transformation worked is she did study magic a lot when she was an elf, but she didn't have a connection to the weave, which was like the well source of all magic in this universe. We play in the Forgotten Realms universe, by the way, if I didn't say that. But her connection was so weak that she couldn't actually produce magic until she was transformed into a goblin, and then like something happened and now she can access the weave, and like that's way more interesting to me.
Absolutely.
So I guess
that definitely tracks with using the Fury of the Small on the fireball.
I mean, I killed like 7 guys that one round, so like whatever.
Goddamn fireball.
And now I know I can spell sculpt, so you can hear me in that clip go like, "Oh my god, did I hit my friends?" And I can just, I have a vision of my boyfriend who knows D&D like the back of his hand, just being like, "Oh my god." Can't believe I'm dating this woman. Captain Trail in the comments, by the way.
Oh, and he
plays
and
Maglamandorian, the glasses fellow who we saw earlier.
He also reminds us that you are an evocation wizard.
An evocation wizard, which means that
You blow
I
stuff up real
specify in big damage spells.
Big boom.
This was
Fat.
I'm gonna
Fake
get tweets
news.
about this later, aren't I?
probably.
Okay. That's fine, I don't care.
All right, so I have to ask a question that we ask every guest. There's a war right now in the TTRPG community between people who believe that one should chew their dice, like little dice goblins. They believe that dice are the forbidden candy. And then there are those that think, hey, don't put dice in your mouth, you weirdos. That's disgusting. Don't do that. We need to know, what side of the war is MoMo on?
Hashtag stop the crunch.
Am I understanding
Or
what you
hashtag
just said
crunch
to me
crew.
correctly?
I'll go through it again. So there are people called crunchers. Crunchers are people who take dice, like D20s, D6s, and all that,
And they chew them
they
like
chew
gum.
them. Yeah, they just put them in their mouth
And they go hung.
and and then there are those of us in this war that are like, hey, stop that, that's gross.
Okay, well, I can't rightly choose a side in this war because, like, you know, all of me right now is like, that's fucking gross. Why the fuck would you do that? That's like a TTRPG version of a Tide Pod. But I've never done it myself. So I can't like knock it to like there must be there's a war. There must be a reason that like
we can't be the show that's responsible for bringing Momo to the crotchet side. What have we done?
I don't know if you can see it. There's little flowers.
Yeah,
I don't think you can see it.
It's an adorable dice. You should not crouch. But you know what? We'll let this happen. I feel so.
I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it.
It's the goblin brain. It makes you want to just bite the die.
Does it though? Does it really?
I play a goblin. And I gotta tell you. Well, I mean, she's not really a goblin, but like okay.
You do not have to crunch.
I'm gonna do it.
Captain Krill goes to flour, adds flavor. Krill, are you also a cruncher? I need to know.
They think it might be a neurodivergent thing.
Yeah, I'm also neurodivergent, and no, we don't have to do this.
Okay, so now that I've
you've crunched.
Experienced both sides of the fence, I gotta say, if you're the kind of person that likes to like chew a necklace to stay focused or something, then that might be for you. Not for me. Wasn't the most appealing sensation.
No, it's not. So I mean, we hashtag stop the crunch. Is that what we on?
I mean, if you're into the crunch away. But it seems a little silly that this is cause for a war. Crunching the dice seems like a relatively harmless thing to do as long as you don't swallow your dice. But
it's not though. What if we're playing D&D in person and I'm like, shit, can I use one of your D12s? And I grab D12 and I see just a little tooth mark on it. It's like, you got me.
That is true. I also, like, if I was sitting around a table with somebody that I'd never met and they just went like, I'd be like, cool, man.
Okay. You see what you're doing
dice
to the
and candy dice do exist, though, to be fair, but I've been told that is not an acceptable solution.
Yeah, they consider those not a crunch. They want crunch. And
my mouth still tastes like plastic.
Yeah. You see that? You see what you crunches have done? Let's see what chat's going. Noir started the war. Noir is a warmonger. I'm just trying to figure out who is on what side in this war.
I am was it Italy in World War II? I'm taking a neutral approach to this and being like, crunch them if you got them, I guess.
All right, so let's go through the board again. Let's see. We've got Brennan Lee Mulligan on the neutral side, the coward side who doesn't choose a side. So Brennan,
I mean, I feel like me and Brennan Lee Mulligan have a very similar vibe in that sense. Where we're like, as long as it's not hurting anybody, go ahead. Just respect each other. Peace and love. And then I'm also Canadian, so that cranks that up by like 10%.
Hey, Canadians.
Yay!
I didn't know you were Canadian.
I keep lifting up my arms, forgetting that there's like a huge stain on this shirt.
That's why I'm here. I'm the official Duff. I'll make everybody look better. No. I can't believe Brennan and my wife are cowards. That's what I said. Brennan, you choose a side. Mo choose a side. This war is going down. When it happens, there's no going back.
If you had to choose.
Oh yeah, Abria. She's the gunslinger. She's the one that's funding
the arms
dice
dealer
that look delicious, and now she's trying to make them smell delicious too, like a cookie and cream scented dye. Ugh, disgusting.
Trying to add scents to the inks so that way they smell like candy as well as look like candy.
I mean, I'd like that. Like, I smell my wormwood whenever I open it up because it smells like fresh wood.
Oh my god, wormwood stuff smells so good.
I got, so they like, tried to do a little promotion with me, but it like got to Canada a little too late for me to do it in time. But they sent me this dice box that has like Elvish writing on it. That was a promotion they did for Valentine's Day, and they asked me, it's like, well, what do you want it to say, professionally translated to Elvish on your dice vault? And I told them that me and my boyfriend have this little inside joke with "Don't go where I can't follow" from Lord of the Rings. So that's sappy. So that's what that says.
That's so sweet.
And I have one for me and one for him whenever the Panzerotti ends and we can be in the same space.
Listen, the first roll pan pizza's been bad on all of us. I just got my first shot yesterday.
This panini is really kicking our ass.
Yeah. I was telling him, luckily me and my partner, like as soon as we met, I flew out to see him for a week and he flew out to see me for a week, so we have spent a little time in person, but it's been over a year of us doing this long distance thing. And I was telling him the other day that like a little panoramic fatigue thing that I'm like so glad to not work with anymore once it's over is like every single time I want to talk to him, I have to be like, okay, where is my input coming from and my output's coming from here? And like if the audio has to be good, I have to wear headphones, which like have been crushed. I think my head size has gone down a size in the pandemic because my head is like constantly crushed by headphones, and like that's just a little thing that I'm very happy to not deal with anymore.
Really nice when you're in a long-term thing where you don't have to like look at somebody through a screen. Yeah.
Yeah, when I actually did the quick trip to Chicago to visit, that was so nice to actually like hear your voice not filtered through headphones and like see your face not through a screen.
I mean, it kind of sucks that I can't do my Snapchat filters at you IRL, but you know, whatever, we make it work.
Most of my social life didn't actually change that much. Like we decided to name the podcast Realm. It's cute. We decided to name the podcast Realms Apart because we branded right before the I'm running out of stupid names.
The Parabola.
Parabola, Portobello. And we were like, oh, we're friends from all over the world that like play this one game over Zoom, and then that just kind of became the default for all D&D games after that, and we were like, cool. But yeah, like none of my friends live in the same country, so we were always hanging out like over Zoom calls and stuff before, but you know, with my partner, I'd like to be living with them at some point. But other than that, I'm super used to just like calling on Discord, watching an episode of something, and then leaving, which works for me because I don't have to drive anywhere. That's like very time management friendly, you know?
I actually read a statistic that there have been because of the Periscope, there have been an increase in the number of long distance relationship between people in the U.S. and Canada, so much so that visa information, those searches have gone up like tenfold as people are trying to figure out how to get my Canadian girlfriend here or how I get to Canada. One way is much harder than the other. Don't fucking ask me that in front of people where I have to explain emotions.
Yeah, we think I'm predicting that, you know, after the World Wars, there was like an influx in people getting married after like knowing each other for like a month and stuff. I'm predicting we're gonna see something like that as soon as the pandemic's over. Is everybody's gonna want to be getting married and moving across the country and stuff like that.
I mean, I'm also expecting that. And they were expecting like a panini baby boom, and that's not gonna happen. We all too broke for that.
Too broken. I guess that is a perk of a long distance relationship.
I mean, yeah. Plus, a kid would totally get in the way of my D&D playing, and I can't have that right now. Unless the baby learns how to play D&D real quick.
Babies also stick everything in your mouth, and I don't think you could handle a kid that was crunch crew.
I don't know that I could support.
I feel like I can't. I feel like I can't have a kid right now. You know, mostly like for financial reasons. but also like I still look and act like a kid. Like I still have people being like, "So you starting school in September?" And I'm like, "I'm 27." And so like I feel like me walking around with a baby, people would be like, "So is this your younger sister?" And I'd have to explain that I am in fact an adult, which I don't want to do right now. So I'm gonna wait maybe like another 10 years and see if my skin catches up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait a millennia. I don't need that kind of pressure.
Millennia.
In one of my home games, my friend had her baby a couple months before, but like Hazel was getting old enough that she could like grab big things and throw them. So I made a giant D20 out of paper and laminated it so it was like waterproof, and she played Hazel was her mom's pseudo dragon familiar.
That's so cute.
So any of the rolls for the pseudo dragon, she'd throw the die. She rolled a natural 20 and everybody cheered, and then she started crying because it was a loud noise.
Oh, it's
In
so
all-
cute.
In all fairness, that's happened to me a few times.
Did you see? I don't know if you guys like follow Critical Role. I feel like it's not safe to assume that everybody that does DPRPGs does, but
yeah.
Um,
That's a whole conversation.
But Laura Bailey and Travis Willingham, when they had their pregnancy announcement, they like wrote up a character sheet for their baby.
It was really cute.
That was really cute.
Morning, Diana. Good to see you.
Good morning,
yeah.
Diana.
Yeah, I just not gonna be talking about babies. Can't handle it.
Shut it down.
Shut it down.
Shut it down. Shut it down.
Do we have like another question or something that can prompt
Yes,
a new conversation?
I do have another question. So, another one that I asked guests here is if you could sit at a table with any 5 people that are alive right now, and you don't have to be the GM, you can even pick who's the GM. Any 5 people in the world, who would you pick? It's always so interesting to see people's answers because there's always one person that people pick that always throws me off. Like, I didn't even think about that. Like last week it was he was in Fargo. You remember? Oh no, I can't.
This is gonna take a while.
Oh,
Yeah,
Steve
no, take your
Buscemi?
time. So yeah, Steve Buscemi. I was like, I wouldn't have thought that, but yeah, I would love to sit at the table with him. And my 5 always changes from week to week. I usually pick a 5 to give people time to pick theirs. I would, this week I'm feeling Steve Martin. I think that would be a fun one.
As a bard?
I don't know what he played, but I just want Steve Martin at the table. The dude who does the voice for Archer, I want him at the table this week.
John H. Benjamin?
Yeah, John H. Benjamin. Let's bring him in.
Have you heard? So he released an album called "I Don't Know How to Play Jazz Piano," where he hired an entire jazz band that plays like actual jazz music, but there's just little segments where he does a piano solo and he doesn't know how to play piano, and it's the funniest fucking thing in the universe.
I don't.
You'll have to look it up later because
Yeah.
oh my god, it gets me cackling every single time. Colin Mockery.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like he would kill it, and fellow
Yeah.
Canadian. So, and Jeff Goldblum, not because of his, career as an actor or whatever, but I do know he has been LARPing because he went to the same LARP as our DM.
Wait, Jeff Goldblum?
Jeff Goldblum, yeah. If you look,
You
on
know
the
he's gonna
Disney-
do an actual play soon now too,
Is
right?
he?
Yeah.
Oh,
we were talking
we're
about that
getting
last
it.
week.
Good. We're reeling him in. But yeah, he went to a LARP event at one point, and there's like a picture of our DM standing next to him in costume, which I think is the coolest thing. Yeah. Do they have to be real people? Could they be like characters? I don't have anybody in mind, but that might open up my choices a bit.
Have to be real people, but you know what? After that, I would love to do a 5 fictional after you pick your 5 real. That'd be dope.
The dude from for the fictional, the dude from the Midnight Gospel, for sure. He's also on my Dream Blunt rotation, but we're not gonna talk about that.
Shit. Okay. Well, we're gonna have to have a session this one day.
This is so hard. Oh, Captain Crail, my boyfriend.
Yeah.
Same table. And that also helped me feel less nervous next to all these celebrities and stuff.
Captain Krill is cranking out the suggestions, and he's got a couple of good ones.
Do they have to be alive?
They have to be alive right now.
I was gonna say J.R.R. Tolkien.
I would bring back Gygax just to fist fight. Diana's gonna hold him down. I'm just gonna work his ribs.
Listen. It's not like he did any sort of weird biological determinism or tried to say that his...
Me and Diana gonna catch Gygax slipping like, there you go, get him. Be more inclusive.
This is so hard! Ah!
Oh.
I was gonna say Zendaya.
Ooh.
Because I feel like she could get into it, and also I just feel like I could vibe with Zendaya, you know? I'd love to see what kind of character she'd bring.
Your table's kind of lit right now.
Annie Murphy from Schitt's Creek is a good one, Krill, too.
Oh, I thought you said Eddie Murphy.
No.
Eddie Murphy would be...
Eddie Murphy would also be really good. I might add that to my roster. I'm trying to think of, like, my resume building in my head is, like, I want them to have, like, good storytelling and acting techniques. Like, that's my priority. But also, like, be nerdy enough to, like, not take it as a joke, you know, to, like, oh, the guy that played Aragorn.
Fuck, Hugo. No, not Hugo.
Mortensen.
Fuck. Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah, because, like, he's got, like, all the acting chops, but also takes his fantasy roles so seriously, which I love.
Have you seen the picture of him and I forgot who the other actor was, but they were in Japan and they were buying Gundams. They just look so happy.
That's so sweet. Oh, I love that. Who do I got? Colin Martin. Okay.
I would just pay to see Viggo Mortensen in a room with Colin Mockery. That would be such dissonance that my brain would need a second to recover. Like, one of these things is not like the other.
Yeah, I don't even know if this group would be good, because I feel like Colin Mockery would try and make it comedic and Viggo Mortensen would be out there making it dramatic, and I just feel like the vibes would be off. This is so difficult.
I don't know. I think Colin Mockery's got some okay acting chops. Wasn't he on a couple episodes of Murdoch Mysteries?
Oh, he does, but, like, I just feel like that's his...
It was Viggo Mortensen and Carl Urban in Japan buying a bunch of Gundams. Sorry, that was just driving me crazy.
This is so tricky.
Also Sean Bean, but he would die in the first session. Hallway Secrets.
Poor Sean Bean. Like, what did he do to Hollywood? Where they're just like, you know what we should do with this guy? We should fucking kill him every goddamn chance we get.
There's a full
I don't know. I
infographic.
feel like that may be real smart, because, like, he's been in so many iconic franchises, and his schedule probably looks great. You know, like, he goes, he makes his name, and he leaves. And, like, everybody remembers that Sean Bean was in Game of Thrones for, like, a long... You haven't seen it.
He got out perfectly. Like, he was just like, I'm in while it's good, and I'm out before it sucks. Shoot. Okay. So who do we have at your table right now? We've got Viggo Mortensen,
Colin Mockery, Viggo Mortensen,
Colin Mockery,
Jeff Goldblum,
okay. And you said Captain Krill.
All right.
And Captain Krill.
That's 5.
All right, now made up.
Yeah.
Made up characters.
Fictional.
Who we got?
The guy from the Midnight Gospel. I don't remember his name.
I'm picking Daniel Craig's character from Knives Out. I'm picking
Inspector
Ford
Black.
from the Mighty Nine. I'm picking Grog from Vox Machina.
Just 2 Travis Willinghams.
I need all the Travis Willinghams. Can I have all the Travis Willinghams? I'm choosing, and my last 2 are Troy and Bed from Community.
Oh my god! Oh, is it too late to add Childish Gambino to my table?
Well, you
You can have a 6-player.
Yeah,
Yay!
you can have a 6-player. I don't know why, but I think he would be amazing at D&D. He would be amazing.
Absolutely.
Oh, God.
I love that episode.
Faye, that's the easy answer. Is the Night at the Museum exhibits.
All of them.
At a table.
All that. Oh God, what I would have given to see Robin Williams play D&D. That would have been.
And Shirley Cuthbert, specifically from Anne with an E.
Oh,
I
nice.
haven't
again,
seen that.
I really like it. It's like,
I've heard a lot of good things.
yeah, it's a pretty deep part of Canadian culture because we don't got a lot of media stuff going for
It's
us,
true.
and like I grew up watching Anne of Green Gables like cartoons, and whenever I flipped on the TV, CBC would be playing some of its like hundreds of adaptations. I've seen so many different versions.
Either
of
that
Anne
or
of
like
Green
Road to Avonlea, which was in reruns for forever.
And I remember I like turned on the first episode of it because who we've talked about before, was really into it. And I remember like being kind of off put by it because I was like, yeah, it's so dark and edgy. This isn't the Anne of Green Gables I know. Blah, 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 blah. But I gave it another go and I'm like, oh, this actually super works. Because apparently it's a lot more closely tied to like the books. But the Anne of Green Gables that I knew growing up was like, nothing bad ever happens in Avonlea. I'm just gonna go eat some ice cream, and the worst thing that could possibly happen is I dye my hair green at some point. But in this, they like really address like how fucked up it would have been to have been an orphan in that time period, and like how Anne has trouble like going to school and stuff because she's as thinks that she's coded as being kind of neurodivergent, which I really like. And she's such a beautiful character, and the show is really beautiful. The writing is absolutely gorgeous. Like, it's been a really long time since I've watched a show and the episodes have me going like, what? Like, it's very good. It's very good, and it doesn't just make it like dark for the sake of making it dark. It makes it dark because it works. That it's dark,
Yeah,
So I'm unfamiliar with the story. Is this a period piece of some sort?
Yes, it takes place in 1900.
Yeah, late 1800s, early 1900s, I think, turn of the century.
Okay. I'm bad at all kinds of numbers, so I didn't want somebody in the Twitch chat being like, it was 1700.
Get it together.
Freckle-looking motherfucker.
I personally, I can't stand comments that just exist solely to correct motherfuckers, and they do it with that smug attitude. I get it all the time. Sorry, I was about to go off on a tangent. Just fuck those people.
Go off on a tangent. Be free.
Like, you know when like the context of everything you say is on point, but like one detail is wrong, and there's there are these people that exist to feed off that. That's just like, you spelled the word wrong, or you got the number wrong. But like, dude, was everything else right? Did you get the point? Then please shut the wholesale fuck up. Just please. And it's always somebody with like an anime profile. I hate them so much.
But don't you know
stop.
that man's first name bunch of numbers has a really good opinion for you?
I don't even check my Twitter replies anymore. I have it set so that only people who are following me can make their way into my notifications, and Lord, I have not known such peace for years. It's so good.
Nah, my Twitter is a free for all because I think at some point it's me subconsciously punishing myself for something I did in my past.
Honey, don't do that.
Maybe.
Just taking on all comers. Let's go.
And that's like so. I've talked about how Realms was birthed from a bad mental health period, but since then I've been seeing a very expensive psychotherapist, and I've made it my entire personality. And that's something that we talk about a lot, is like my relationship to the internet, and that's how I started forming boundaries and whatnot. And we did talk about how we as human beings often take the most negative criticism of us as the most realistic, because like they must be right, because it feels more grounded. And we, in the context of like being animals, we pay attention to the things that endanger us the most. And so that's why we have this like sick need to just seek out the worst possible things that somebody's saying about us. And that's just our brain's way of trying to protect us from the potential truth of who we really are and whatnot. But a lot of the work that she's got me doing is getting to know myself a little bit more and defining myself and figuring out like what it is that I like and why I like it, what it means to me to be a talented person, what it means to me to be a good person. And once I started to get to know myself a little bit more and define myself for me, by me, it mattered a little bit less, all the negative things that people were saying about me, because it seemed a little bit less like truth when I did so much work to define my own sense of truth. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
No, I feel that one of the things that my therapist told me a while ago is that people who are raised in toxic situations and like have known toxicity all their life can kind of get addicted to it. It's just like, you need a little bit of toxicity every day to just kind of keep going. Like you need that hit of negativity, and like you kind of have to break out of that. And I mean, that was the perfect way for it to be explained to me, because it kind of made sense that, some people are negative junkies or like are, bad vibe junkies. Yeah.
And I find so much of the internet is like being constantly bombarded by either things that you have very little power to change, or people living lives that you wish you were living that are barred from you for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like every time I see a tiny house pop up on my feed, I get a little sad. And I think that kind of feeds the negativity, because we're all miserable and we're all looking for opportunities to climb that social ladder however we can, which adds to the dunks that we see online, because it's a momentary release of feeling underneath so many people all at once, and that's also helped with the negativity, because I think it says more about other people than it does you. And I just kind of feel bad because they're taking control. So a story that somebody told me once is they were like, or it was a friend of theirs or somebody, worked in a homeless shelter for a little bit, and they were prepared. They were told, hey, so the bathrooms are going to be trashed constantly. It's not that these people don't respect you and appreciate what it is you're doing. They just have no control over their life. And sometimes in order to take control of their life, they do what they can, which in this scenario is trashing a bathroom. And it's a momentary release from the reality of their lives. And I see a lot of trashed bathrooms online, like just people taking control where they can, because we're all depressed. So yeah.
And Lord knows, there's no shortage of reasons lately. But I mean, I think the one thing that I'm also running out of the P word. So I think one thing that the Philadelphia did do that was positive. Philadelphia's like, hey,
in chat.
Hey, don't do that. But no, I think one of the great things that the Philadelphia did was it kind of showed, um, like even being stuck at home, even with, you know, all the uncertainty that we were dealing with, there was still light. Like people were still finding ways to be together. People were still finding ways to create together. Um, and there's a quote that came out of this that I've been holding on to because I have a special love in my heart for artists, which is when when Hollywood fell, when everything else fell apart, when nobody else was there. Remember that you turn to art, and don't forget that when the world turns back on. And it's just like I'm hoping that one of the things that comes out of this Pennsylvania, I got you. Well, no, that's still feeling sorry. One of the things that comes out of this Pennsylvania is that we don't forget that one of the things that got us through this was art and chasing your passion, and it inspires a lot more people to walk away from situations that are killing them internally, like bad jobs, bad relationships, just bad situations in general. I hope that they found something in this peninsula that brought them light, and they hold on to it, and they make that the core to their being. I started to figure out more P words.
Good job.
I also hope that people walk away from this with a newfound respect for the accessibility that art has these days. All of the beautiful art on Twitter you get to consume for free. Everything on YouTube you get to consume for free for the most part. Like TikTok and podcasts and all this stuff is free and accessible to anybody who has internet access, and that was not always the case, and I know that I've gained a newfound respect for that.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild, the conversations that this has all opened up in terms of accessibility. I talked to a friend of mine who has a disability that makes it hard for them to go to certain places, and we talked about Mortal Kombat, and we were able to talk about Mortal Kombat at the same time because they were able to watch it the same time it would have hit theaters, which is something that wouldn't have been so easy for us to do. And so we were just trashing this movie, and then like after trashing the movie, you're just like, why haven't we had more movie talks? And they explained it to me, like, I don't usually go to the movies. So it's just like, this thing happening to us has shed a lot of light on a lot of that we could fix, and we have started to fix it because now we're all meeting the same challenges that other people were meeting, but we didn't care to fix it. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. I've seen plenty of other conversations like that as well, especially like with the boom of Zoom conversations and stuff, and a lot of people with physical disabilities being like, this is what I've wanted this entire time, to be able to just like Zoom call into a classroom, because me getting there is so difficult for me that I think it's opened a lot of conversations like that, which is great, despite the overall situation.
Yeah, I swear to God. And now our CDC is just like, oh, you don't need masks anymore. And that certainly won't bite us in the ass. Anyway, if we are heading towards the darker roads, we're getting into more serious conversations. So I think that is a perfect time for us to take a break. Mm-hmm. Let's go be human for a second, and we'll come back with the dark roads where we just get into where we just continue talking about stuff like this, and the That Guy segment, which I am very excited to hear what stories you might have. So that's all coming up next. But first, we're going to go be human and refill our coffees because I am on empty.
Yes.
What do you say, babe?
We're going to go on a quick break. We're going to stretch, do bathroom breaks, whatever we need to do. You all should do the same, and we will be right back.
Use their feet, which I think is very romantic.
And we're back. On that note,
Talk about the log drivers.
we're
waltz.
talking about the Log Driver's Waltz. I actually made an entire D&D minigame based on the Log Driver's Waltz.
Really?
Yeah.
How'd it go?
So there is a pool of water with two logs suspended by cables on either side. And it was kind of like the jousting competitions where you try to knock someone off of the log. So the log is sort of spinning at the same time and you're moving. So it's a bunch of dexterity checks and like opposed athletics checks to try to knock the other person off the log.
Oh, that's neat. I like that.
Oh my god, you literally can use the Log Driver's Waltz to call out all the Canadians. Like,
Yeah,
Lauren
Lord!
immediately was just like, ooh!
It is the easiest way.
It's a nice song. Yeah.
We've got hidden Canadians all among us.
And
I mean,
there's
I didn't
the-
know. When I found out Keanu Reeves was Canadian, that broke my fucking heart.
Okay, like I mean, like we blend in so well to your pop culture.
The Canadians.
Yeah, it's like espionage work. Like you never.
We don't even have American movie stars. Every movie star that I'm like, oh yeah, they're definitely American. They always turn out to be Canadian.
The easiest way
Every
to find a
time.
Canadian in any room is just to say, "Don't you put it in your mouth." And if they respond with, "Don't you stuff it in your face," you know you found a Canadian.
That's the code.
Espionage.
There was another commercial growing up that I found out only aired on Canada called "Don't You Put It in Your Mouth." And as a kid, I was just like, oh, you know, this is fine. But if you rewatch it as an adult, you're like, this is
The puppets are nightmare
bizarre
fuel.
because it's all puppets, like random puppets too. And the song goes, I wonder if I can figure out the chords. It's like, put it in your mouth.
Yep. Don't
Stuff it in your face. And if it's good to eat, like a muffin or a beet, if you don't know just what it is, remember, boys and girls, don't put it in your mouth. Ick! Like, if you think that sounds bizarre, you need to see the actual commercial, because imagine that with puppets.
Like, not even like good Jim Henson Creature Workshop puppets. These were like budget bargain basement puppets. There was a beat puppet.
You could get sick.
Ick.
Ick. Real quick. Real sick. Real ick. Those are the real lyrics.
Yes.
By the way.
We've confirmed that Canada is on the side of Stop the Crotch Man.
I don't know. There's probably a lot of crunchers in Canada.
Probably.
Yo, just with how well Canadians blend in, like, it's a good thing that y'all aren't evil. Like, I'm thinking of like an evil version of Canada.
I think we're just pretty good at PR.
It's
You
true.
know? We're not doing great on a lot of fronts.
Uh-huh.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like it's hard to be doing well on a lot of fronts when you have the US as your neighbor, though.
I feel like we as Canadians lean on that a lot. Though, you know, like we don't confront a lot of our own problems because a lot of us say, oh, well, we're not as bad as the US, you know, which is, you know, us sweeping a bunch of stuff under the rug where it's like, yeah, but we could be better than we are right now. Y'all realize that, right?
Yeah. Canadians will be the first to admit that we've got a lot of problems, and if the Canadian does not think that we will have a lot of problems, chances are good that they're either a white supremacist or something else.
Yeah. It's like, you know how, like, I've been to the States, and you know how there's, like, U.S. flags people will have on their porch and stuff, and you see that, and it's, like, instantly a red flag. If somebody has a Canadian flag on their porch here, it's, like, definitely a red flag. Not all the time, obviously, but...
I mean,
I've
obviously it's a
noticed.
red flag. Get it? Because it's...
This is a red flag, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I do my best.
But I do, for the most part, love my country. I like that. I live here. And whenever people ask me, like, where in the world would you live if not there? It's always a tough question.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to be able to say that too. I wish, my country had universal health care, but we not gonna get into that.
Yeah, like when I found out that like you had to pay for ambulances and stuff, and like if you broke your leg, you might not be able to like make rent. Like that's terrifying to me. It sounds dystopic, and I feel very bad.
Yeah. I remember when I told one of my Canadian friends that we have to, one of the things that we do here when we apply for jobs is we have to tell them our race and sex. And they were like, is that for real? We're like, yeah. They're like, no. I'm like,
it's illegal
bad?
here.
Is it illegal? Okay, good.
Yeah, it's against the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
Lord,
Yeah.
thank you. Ugh. So we're starting off on the good foot if this is the heavy hour.
This is the dark
Dark
roast.
brew, baby.
Oh boy.
You can do it here, but it's optional. They say it's optional, but all the ones there's like, I choose not to disclose, all those resumes get sent to the bin.
Oof.
I did lie one time and say I was white. And my name is Justin, so it's not that hard to like
White name.
dupe them. Like that name,
Mark.
that name is white as shit. Well, I'll give you my whole name. My whole name is Justin Miller. So yeah, it's pretty easy for me to slip in on paper as a Caucasian.
Different kind of espionage.
And then I show up and I'm like, surprise, motherfucker! There's one time that I did do that, and I know for a fact they did not believe that I was Justin Miller. Oh, good times. I know Justin Miller in high school. He was definitely white. Of course he was. Why do you think I go by Noir Enigma? Because there are Justins everywhere, and look, you know what? I hate to be this guy. I'm betraying the cause. 80% of Justins are fuckboy assholes. I'm sorry.
What cause are you betraying? The Justin cause?
Yes, the Justin.
Making all Justins look bad?
Look, we have a meeting every
Is this like
month.
the Josh meeting where they all decided who the ultimate Josh was?
No,
incredible.
because the Joshes are loud and obnoxious about it. The Justins, we all get on a Zoom call. We have our chairman give his little spiel, Mr. Timberlake and Mr. Long.
You can rub Elrose with Mr. McElroy.
I wish I could, but he blocked me on Twitter.
Is that for real?
Yes, that's
Oh
real.
no! So sorry.
Hey Justin, you get kicked out of the Justin meeting for that. If anybody knows Justin McElroy, send him this clip and let him know you blocked me, son. That's not cool. I gotta be honest, I just started listening to my brother and me. And like I'm really falling in love with the podcast. I haven't listened to any Adventure Zone yet. And I watched the McElroys on Tiny Heist over on Dimension 20. And so I'm like, oh my God, I think I'm really starting to like the McElroys. Like I've been listening to the podcast everywhere. I'm gonna go follow them on Twitter. And let me tell you, there's no bigger slap in the face than becoming a fan of somebody and seeing like, what did I do?
You
I'm not
even
taking
know, like, what caused it? You don't have to say what it is. But
Oh
like,
no, probably a blockchain. I'm not gonna lie. I used to be. Well, I didn't used to be a dick on Twitter. I just didn't know a lot about some of the people that I was following, and I've learned better, and I've kicked all those people off my Twitter. But the blockchain still remains. So I earned it. No hard feelings, Justin. But it is on site if I ever see you in person.
that happened to me once. Somebody posted something and they're like, "Oh, this is so cool," and I was like, "Why can't I see it?" And I went and I checked and I was like, "Huh," and then I had to think and I was like, "Oh, I think I got into a fight with you about Gamergate when I was like 17, and I now have to live with that."
That's what it was. That's
Oh,
what it
boy.
was.
Yeah,
Oh,
but I feel
God,
like
what a
everybody that cares has a phase like that at some
I'm-
point. People on TikTok are currently in it.
It's
Like
true.
it's gotta happen.
I mean, you got to give people room to grow, but what a really fucked up time in the internet that Gamergate was. Ooh wee.
I mean, like, I don't think it was even really a fight. I think, I was like a 17-year-old looking to pick a fight. But I was just like, what is this Gamergate thing about? And one dude was just like, oh, well, it's about, morality and gaming journalism. And I was like, but it's not,
about
though.
ethics and
That's not what I'm
journalism. No,
seeing.
it's not.
So if it's not that, then, like, what do you guys actually...
And I feel like Gamergate was the moment that a lot of people were radicalized. Like, because they lured people in with like, no, this is about gaming journalist ethics and making sure that, people aren't just shitting on our games and all this kind of stuff, or whatever the fuck they were selling.
It's only a coincidence that we're going after certain demographics of people.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Like,
and like, as if we're getting into like the deeper discussion part of the hour and stuff, as a female in a typically very male dominated field, LARPing, I experienced stuff like that a lot, and it really stuck with me. Like, I had to take almost a year off to forget every opinion that a white 30-year-old man had ever had about me. Because they never go about it like, oh, well, we don't like you because you wear a lot of pink and wear flower crowns and stuff. You know how Miranda Sings, like the YouTuber, created her entire brand by just taking out all the comments of people pointing out stuff they didn't like and doing that more? I kind of did the same thing. Like, I noticed it was always a certain kind of person that would get very upset when I dressed hyper femininely, so I did it more. And it was never that. It was never people being like, oh, well, I don't like her because she's like typically feminine and like doesn't like all this other stuff. It was always talking about like the integrity of the hobby and stuff. And like, it was deep cuts, and they did cut deep. And that's the stuff that really like stuck with me, and it took a while to realize it's like, oh no, they just realized that their arguments weren't very strong, and so they were going for other stuff that would seem more agreeable at the time.
Yeah. I don't know about the LARP scene in Canada, but I know the LARP scene around here is still particularly toxic.
You can say it's bad, you can say it's shit. It is.
It's really bad, and I think that LARP needs that same resurgence of popularity that tabletop games are getting in order to flush a lot of that shit out of the system. Because the shit that I've seen at some of the LARPs that I've gone to has been completely out of line.
It's terrible. It is terrible, and like, me and the group chat have talked about this a lot, but it's at the point where it's embarrassing to see a LARP that is in a position where it can, and like, this does not go for LARPs that are like, mom and pop situations where they can only afford to like have their friends help out and stuff, because that's an area I don't know how to navigate. But if you're in a position where you can seek out and hire models or actors or people to write your game or people to promote your game, and you intentionally only choose white males, it is embarrassing, because we are behind in so many ways, and it's just it's upsetting. So you don't have to coddle me. Yeah. I know that the community that I am a part of has a tendency to be trash, and it's bad, and it's why I had to take a break for as long as I did, and I started like branching out my brand to like theme parks and other immersive experiences, because in part I wanted to show it's like, hey LARPers, this is like other things that we could be doing, like we could take inspiration from all these other things, but also I needed a break because it was exhausting being I guess a figurehead for a community that didn't know how to behave itself a lot of the times.
Yeah, I've walked out of 2 LARPs. In any hobby, you expect there to be like that asshole. Like, and that's another reason why we do the that guy segment, just to kind of show people like, look, there are assholes sprinkled in the TTRPG community, but there are also amazing people that we bring on, and they're fantastic. So don't give up on the hobby. One of the problems with the LARP community right now is that those assholes are kind of being coddled by the people that run the LARPs, and that's the problem. They know that that these assholes are going to shell out hundreds and hundreds of dollars, to participate in this LARP. They know that they're going to buy the gear, they're going to buy the currency, they're going to buy like the deluxe cabin wherever that they can sleep in and whatnot. So they're whales, and so that gives them a layer of protection that people that are just peeking their head into the hobby to see if this is something that they're interested in don't have. And I think that's the basic formula for a lot of the problems that I've personally seen in the LARPing community.
Mm-hmm. It's very close-knit and close-knit to a certain kind of person, but also TTRPG is so much more accessible than LARP in a lot of ways, especially fantasy games, because when you want to play a fantasy character at a table, you just kind of have to imagine it and like maybe download a $10 PDF or something at the very most. But with LARPing, if you want to have like a good fantasy look, like I don't own that many armor pieces because armor is fucking expensive.
I'm looking at
expensive.
a $500 suit of armor that I want so bad.
Mm-hmm. And like, that's why I want to see, and that's why I'm covering like other areas of immersive experience and whatnot, because I think I want to also show it's like, hey guys, we can get people just coming off the street and like still be immersive. I really would like to see a surgence of like modern day games. Like I love like wizard school LARPs because you can show up and what you have in your closet, and like the LARP organizers can provide to you what you need in order to fit into that universe. But like Lord, especially fantasy LARP games, like you could get bullied for showing up in something that you thrifted, which is disgusting to me. And of course, LARP is a big hobby, and me saying that LARP is toxic is the same as me saying like D&D is toxic. Obviously, there's going to be games that you go to that aren't going to be toxic. Some of the most inclusive, incredible, talented people I have met through LARPing. Not all LARPers are bad, but we got a lot of LARPers who are bad. You know what I mean?
Personally, I've found a lot of success with those mom and pop LARPs. My worst experience, and this isn't blaming it on Nero, it was just I did a Nero LARP.
Oh, I've heard things about Nero. You don't gotta worry about that, my dude.
I did a Nero LARP, and I was just like, would rather not. But I did like a mom and pop like fantasy steampunk one, and it was just a great time. So highly recommend getting into LARP. Just be careful, know your boundaries, and don't take no shit.
I've actually found, and like I'm not here to shit on Nero, I've never been to Nero personally, but I have been to many like campaign style games like that, which take a lot of inspiration from TTRPG. But with TTRPG, you level up at the same time as everyone else around the table, all of which who you can assume are friends that you know personally, that you know their boundaries and like what's fun for them and stuff. But I don't think that mechanic works at a LARP, because if you have a campaign style LARP where everyone is leveling up their characters in their own time, and the more that they go to this one game, the more that character levels up, the more powerful that they can feel in that environment. Then you have new players going into that LARP that start at level 1, and if somebody comes in like, oh, we gotta go fight this monster, and everyone's like, haha, the level 50 character hits it once and it's gone, and that leaves nothing for the new players to do. But also, I've found it tends to create a really toxic environment, because it creates this like fantasy of a power dynamic that doesn't actually exist. So the more you go to this one game, which in and of itself kind of creates like a cult-like mentality, you have these players who get this like, power fantasy delivered to them, and it goes to their head a little bit. So I have been to many
I don't think
games
it's a
with
little
mechanics
bit.
like that. Like I have been to many games with mechanics like that are lovely, but I have found that typically games with stuff like that tend to be a little bit more toxic.
Yeah.
What kind of I actually have a
espe-
question. What kind of advice would you
Oh.
give to someone who's trying to get into LARP?
There's a lot. First of all, finding a good LARP is, I think, a little bit like speed dating or trying to find a good therapist. You got to kiss a lot of frogs before you find something that really works for you. Because, you know, there's a lot of diversity in LARPing. People often think, when I say LARPing, people often think of like one thing. I've started describing it as like, oh, it's just like an adult game of make-believe. Because I've found that when I'm like, oh, have you seen role models? People will be like, oh yeah, the one thing that LARPing is. Like nerds going out into a forest wearing capes and hitting each other with foam swords, which is what LARP is. That is one of the things that LARP is.
Yes.
But LARP is so many other things. Like I did a LARP where it was all on your phone and you're just in a closet. There's things that you can run in your living room. I've been to a Harry Potter LARP in a castle in England. I've sailed the Baltic Sea on 3 pirate ships. Like there's so many different things that fall under that umbrella of adult make-believe. And, you know, some people really personally enjoy the stuff that I was talking about earlier. Like they like min-maxing a character and like leveling them up and having everything be physical, like in front of you. Like the Azrai, who is on Realms Apart with us, recently released a video called D&D and ADHD, which is a disability that they suffer from. And he talked about how he likes to have physical things in front of him because a big part of ADHD is dealing with invisible information, which had him struggling in like tabletop settings. But in LARP, everything is like physically in front of you, all of the players and their costumes and the props and the adventures that you're going on. I'm going off on like a huge tangent here and I forget what I was originally talking about. But some people enjoy like leveling up a character and like just going out, fighting a thing and coming back and vibing. Other people, myself included, prefer like the more deep immersive like live play kind of thing where you're there to like tell a story and there's like a bunch of safety mechanics and stuff, and it usually takes place on like a cool set and stuff. But the LARPing umbrella is a lot bigger than I think people think it is, and you often find players who go to the same boffer, which is a name for the LARP I was describing earlier, boffer LARPs, for years and years and years, and they never try anything else. And like that was a category that I fell into for a while. Is I went to one LARP and I was like, this is the best LARP, and then I went to one other and I was like, I changed my mind. this is the best LARP. So first of all, don't deal with toxicity. And get away from that when you can. If you're unhappy somewhere, get out of there. And sometimes it can be hard to realize that you're unhappy in a place. And that's the hardest part, is recognizing that you're in a community that isn't good for you. Like there's been a lot of communities that I was in that I thought were really good for me. And as soon as I left, I realized they weren't. So pay attention to yourself and your mood and what works for you and what doesn't, and find your space like that. And like for me, sometimes that space is just in a living room with my best friends, which is another way that you can LARP if you want like a more tabletop setting, you know.
I had,
go ahead.
I had 2 game designer friends that made it a LARP based around cleaning out their refrigerator.
I sometimes do
Scientists.
that, like not
Looking
a
for science-
full-blown LARP, but
Yeah.
when I'm doing chores or something, I'll like make up a character in my head and I'll be like, to be a scullery maid. it's such a hard game, you know, but it's yeah.
So, to add on top of that question, I'm gonna ask, what has been like your favorite LARP moments, or like what have been your favorite LARPs?
The first one that came to mind didn't actually like even happen at a LARP, but it's about Az again, because you know I can't keep myself from just talking about my friends all day. But the first time I met Az in person, we had talked a bunch online before and stuff, but we did the pirate LARP that I was talking about where we sailed the Baltic Sea. And that story was really beautiful, and it ended up with like my character sacrificing her life to get some people their boat back and whatnot. But it was a very emotional game, is what I'm getting out. And a big theme of that story that we told was like our characters' friendship together and stuff. And the after party happened. And I remember I was feeling a lot of bleed, and I went to our little bunk with the bunk beds in the boat. And I went to my bunk and I just started crying. And just like, I just needed a few minutes by myself to just like let those emotions out and process everything that happened and whatnot. And I was also going through a hard time at the time. And I was like, I just need to feel things for a little bit. And I hear the door open, and I'm not turning around because I don't want anyone to know that I feel feelings. And I hear the door open, and Az is like, hey, having a hard time? And I just went, yeah. You? And I just hear, yeah. I can hear them start to cry. And I just turn over in my bunk and I hug Az, and we just like stood in that ship bunker just hugging each other. And that was the moment that I knew I was going to be best friends with Az for a really long time. And that's the first moment that came to my mind. And like, I'm trying to think of any moment that actually happened in a LARP, but this is gonna sound like super fucking sappy, but like the real moments that happen after, like in the car rides there, or in the quiets of our tent, or around a bonfire, things that I can tell are like real friendship moments happening that have only been set on fire by like the fight we had earlier. Those hold so much more meaning to me, you know, like I've like, you know, done one-on-one fights with dudes and won, and that's been fun, and like there's plenty of like in character moments I've had, but none of them stand out as much as the bonds that they've formed with me and my friends, you know.
Yeah,
it's the real moments.
I can't recommend enough that I truly believe everybody should try LARPing. You may feel silly at first. You don't need to buy $1,000 armors or anything. You just go to the Gosh Darn LARP and try it out. Yeah.
If you want, my friend Kazamarie, who is also on, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh no, you're good.
But my friend Kazamarie, who is also on Realms, has a fantastic video about thrift shopping for LARP that you can go check out on her channel. So if you're trying to put together a costume and don't already have something in your closet that could be, you know, trick other people into thinking that you're medieval or whatever, she has a great video about how to find like a good top and like how to accessorize so you look more in period. And it's a great resource for people who are just starting out LARP.
What's their name again? I want to
Kazamarie, Kazamarie. It's an older video of theirs, but if you look up LARP girl thrift shopping, it should pop up. Yeah, it's a great video if you're like just trying to put together a costume, but also don't let anybody shame you for having a bad costume, you know, because that's not the community you want to give your energy to. You're always going to find a much better community that'll be like, oh, hey, I noticed you're wearing sneakers. Like, hey, do you want to borrow? I have an extra pair of boots if you want to borrow them or something. There's always like, you can tell the intentions of a person based on how they want to help you. You know, like I can't count all the like LARP dudes who were like, well, you got a lot to learn. And then I look back now and I'm like, well, would you like to tell me like the ways that I could learn, or are you just looking to put me down here, man? So pay attention to how the community teaches your room to grow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I still remember my favorite LARPing moment. It was this steampunk fantasy LARP, and the whole thing was there's like this encroaching darkness, so we had to have people on the perimeter to do watch, and it was just me and my buddy standing by a fire, waiting for like the GMs to do the NPC like random night attack or whatever. We were just sitting there. And more NPCs came than we expected, so we realized like, oh shit, we're not about to survive. And my buddy like looks at me like, I'll hold him off, you go. And it was just like, I know I'm like a 20-year-old dude at the time. He's a 20-year-old dude. We got full on jobs, but it felt like a fantasy movie. Like, we're not leaving you, bro. Like, you get really cool moments like that. I highly recommend it. Just to be goofy, but it's still fun. And in the moment, it's not goofy. You are that character, so it's just like, I'm not gonna leave my bro to die. It's just you gotta try it at least once.
Oh yeah, like the emotions get real because like everything is like physical around you. But also a piece of advice that I would give specifically to TTRPG people that are making the transition to LARP is you know how a DM can't be everywhere at once? It's very much the same thing for a LARP organizer, especially when everything's physical,
yes.
when people have to do costume changes and teach other people like what the mod is going to be like and stuff. So a good skill to have going into LARP is how to make your own fun and tell your own stories, which is just as fun. But I find people often have a bad time when they're just sitting and waiting around for the next monster to go fight, you know, because those take time. So teach yourself the skill to like go up to somebody and like give them a quest. Like Kaza has so many stories because she really takes care of like new players at her games, and she talks about when new players come in, she'll often like give them a little treasure map so they can like so they can get to know the area of the game and stuff. But LARPing really teaches you how to be a generous role player, which I really feel at the Realms table, because we have taught ourselves to not only deliver ourselves our own story, but how to add to other people's story, which is such an important skill for LARPing, is to be a secondary character for somebody else.
You know, and since you're talking about excuse me, I dropped something. Since you're talking about like the things that TTRPGers need to know about LARPing, I think one of the things that I've learned from LARPing rather than TTRPG is in a LARP, the GM is not going to ask you about your backstory. Like, nobody's really going to ask you about your backstory. And so when you're having when you're talking with other LARP players and you have this backstory, it's something you could draw from without having to spell out everything that your character has been through. And that has really helped me with my TTRPG stuff, because I feel like TTRPGers have a tendency to want to wait for that moment to just drop the exposition of like everything that their character's been through, and that feels a little
unrealistic,
forced. Yes, that feels a little forced.
One of a character that I brought to a LARP at one point was a therapist in training who was inspired because I heard at a small LARP convention that happens, I believe, in Europe, somebody set up a stall that just says, give me $10 and I'll let you talk to me about your character, which I thought was so funny. But I came in as this therapist just for the purpose of going up to people and being like, so tell me about your childhood, and to like give other players a chance to just rant about their backstory, because a good piece of advice that somebody gave me once is a well-kept secret is a useless secret. So let's say you've been playing with somebody for years and their character just dies, and you go meet them at a bar later and they're like, oh my god, no one found out that I was like secretly worshiping the god of death and I was like an evil guy. I'd be like, well, that sucks. Like, we never got to do anything with that. Like, that could have been really cool. We could have had so many really cool scenes with that. And they're like, yeah, but like, I'm not going to tell anybody. And I'm like, well, I feel like that's how it works in real life, but we're telling a story here, man. Like, right? Why didn't you message me beforehand and been like, hey, can you be here at this time so that you can see me, like, quickly closing a book of evil secrets and stuff? And, like, I don't think that there's many not forced ways to just rant about a backstory, but I think there are many appropriate times that you can, like, reveal a secret every now and again, you know, especially when it works for the story. I forget why I went on this tangent.
Oh, it's perfect.
No, it makes absolute sense. And it's just, I feel like you learn so much from living as a character rather than playing the character. You know, I most of the LARPs I did were like 48 hours. You know, everybody's outside, just figure it out for the next 2 days. You know, there's like a camp and food and all that kind of stuff, and it's just when you're in that character for 2 days, you learn to have conversations about your backstory without you know, going nuts on it. So I really think that that's part of the experiences that I've had that have helped me with TTRPG. Have you done any improv at all? I'm curious.
Me? I hated it. Like when I was in music theater, like I wanted to cry every single time I was put on the spot. I think it was in part that with improv, there's such a pressure to be funny, and to just say it's like be funny is the same thing as like sing a song, and suddenly your brain shoots out your butt and you have no idea like what a joke is anymore. And I hate that, and I hate the feeling of everyone looking at me. Like even at LARPs now, I don't like to play big leadership roles. Like I don't know. I might now because I'm like more mature and grown and whatnot and more used to it. But like, I don't think I would have ever played like a captain or something. I don't want to give like it is not this day speech before a war or anything. Like, I don't like having an audience when I LARP, which is very bizarre the way my career has gone the last few years. But like, yeah, I hated improv. I hated it. But also, I think part of me was not interested in short little quips, which is I think why I find Realms and all my LARP videos and stuff so fulfilling, is I wanted to tell a deeper story. I didn't just want to like shoot the shit, you know, like I wanted to develop a character and, you know, have that exposition and tell a story with meaning. And sometimes that story is just for myself, which I like, just for myself and my friends. So yeah, I fucking hate improv. Like, if I ever go to a show, don't even point at me and be like, give me an occupation, because I will say no. And then you're gonna look dumb.
And so now that leads me to my next question, which is, have you been trapped into GMing yet?
No. So at one point, my boyfriend, Captain Crail, who streams on Twitch, and is in the chat probably, was like, oh, I just want to play a zombie game. And so I was like, I'm gonna be a good girlfriend, and I'm gonna look so cool, and I'm gonna make him a little campaign. So I was so proud of myself, and I drew out like a little map and wrote out like character ideas and stuff. And then the game started. GMing is like I had a character who disappeared at one point because I just forgot about him, and then my boyfriend like did something wild that I was not expecting at all, so I was like, I gotta think up a whole location on the spot, and it was just so panic inducing. So I got this question on another stream I was on as well, and I'll give the same answer. I think one day I would love to GM, because I love like directing, and like I love world building, and I think I would have fun with it. Holy hell, not now. Especially like since I can't craft monsters or anything because I don't fully understand the mechanics quite yet. But it is something I can see myself enjoying. I do not enjoy it right now because it feels like working in a kitchen during rush hour. Like there's just so many pots you have to be stirring all at once, and just I'm very happy just focusing on my one character right now and not trying to think up voices for like 30 of them, you know? That's why Nox is incredible to me and like very impressive, because like I've grown so attached to every character that he delivers to us. That we're playing in the city of Waterdeep, and I can visualize it so clearly in my head because he talks about like the seasons changing and like the different people that populate each area, and like it's incredibly impressive to me because like I can't do it at all.
I can't wait to see you like get comfortable with GMing and learn that the secret is fuck these pots. I don't give a shit about these. No, just kidding.
Maybe one day. I think I need to play a few more games first, because another question I got was like, "What's your favorite class to play?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I've played 2." So like, I still have a lot to learn, in especially the mechanics division of D&D. I think a lot of my brain beans are spent focusing on like, if you look at my Pinterest board for Dawdle, it's not a lot of pictures. It's a lot of like, here are different words to describe the scent of someone, or like, here's different synonyms for the term tired. And like, I'm just learning how to like make my speech very flowery, because like that's where I have fun. Is I love.
Okay, so
like,
you are full on finding this character.
Well, I think. Well, something that I learned when studying screenwriting is if you give your character a motivation, they kind of find themselves. You
Sure.
know, like if they have a strong enough motivation and obstacles to that motivation, a lot of the times they're very easy to play. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna move. We're gonna move on to the segment that I have been low key excited for the most, which is the That Guy segment. Let me introduce it here for you. If you've been in the TTRPG community for even a second, chances are you have at some point encountered a That Guy, which is a black hole of fun at the table. If there has ever been an experience with you at a D&D table or TTRPG table, and there is somebody at the table that if they were yeeted into the sun, your enjoyment of the experience would be increased tenfold, then you have run into that guy. Now, before you give us your That Guy, I feel that it's only fair that we give you some of the previous That Guys that we have had, so you can just kind of see the scale that we're dealing with. Obviously, you have railroading DMs who basically just take all your agency away, and they tell a story that they should have just wrote a novel for. I don't know why they're DMing. But you know, that's your basic one. And then we have advanced That Guys, like the Biter. This is a gentleman
That was the biter gaslighter.
the Biter Gaslighter. Yeah, that's right. He took someone aside to help them make a character, bit them, and then denied it. Bit them on the neck, and then pretended that did not happen. Then obviously you have your game store, comic book store creeps.
Everyone has the
Girl's
same
like,
reaction to that story. It is universal.
So you-
Takes Cruncher to a whole new level.
Oh, gross. Well, he would be a croucher. So obviously you have your comic book game store creep who says things like, sees that you're not wearing a ring, and it's just gross.
Checks for ring.
Checks ring, that's what it was. And then you have advanced That Guy who uses bleed to get a player romantically interested in them as the GM and ends a relationship. So yeah.
If you are comfortable sharing a story,
of course,
by all means.
feel free.
So-
You don't have to, but yeah.
So, this was a question that you gave me in advance, and I have given it a lot of thought, though I am afraid you will be quite disappointed with my answer.
Okay.
My answer is I am that guy. Now allow me to
gasp!
explain my milk toast response, if you do not mind.
Of course.
First of
course.
all, something that we talked about earlier is it's a big culture of the internet to put down other people to make yourself feel better, which in my private group chats I recognize is a lot when I'm talking about that guy. That's not to say they're not toxic. Lord, like, I'm not saying I don't have toxic stories. I have enough to fuel my very expensive psychotherapy visits. so much. Like one of the worst was I had a male LARPer dress up like me to make fun of me, and much grosser things have happened. Like, this is not to say that I don't have any stories, but I have more than enough people in my DMs speculating about my private life, and this was a boundary that I feel very happy drawing with the internet, that a lot of things can remain private. And I think it's really popular, especially with young people online these days, to monetize off their trauma. And I'm not interested in doing it anymore. That's not something that I want to showcase. I don't want to put my pain out on display. And this is just a way that I want to try and end this cycle of constantly pointing out other people's flaws instead of focusing on your own. And that's something that I've had to recognize, and like, you know, not just in the TTRPG space, but I've had to recognize a lot of my own privileges and a lot of the gunk going on in my brain that I need to confront. And the more I do that, the less I try and like pick out other people's flaws. Because a lot of what we talked about in psychotherapy is this idea of the shadow soul and the things about yourself that you're so uncomfortable looking at that you can't even confront them, so you project them onto other people. Like, a lot of the things that bother me about myself, I find bothersome in other people. And I think that the way to end a lot of toxicity is to look at yourself, because you can't control other people most of the time. But you can control your own actions and your own behavior. And as a D&D podcast editor, I notice a lot of them. Like, I notice a lot of times that I'll railroad a scene, and I think it's a good skill to have, to be like, oh, let's not do that anymore. Let's pay attention to when another person has the spotlight, and let's try harder to not take that away from them. And I've noticed a lot of times where it's like, I'll like say a joke that doesn't land. Like, let's not do that, which is toxic. But I think it's a good skill to have, to look internally and look at your own toxic behavior and fix it, because that is something that you can control.
No, I feel that.
That is excellent. That is probably one of the most wholesome
answer.
responses that we've ever received. Thank you for that, Momo.
Hey, that's my brand.
So I have to ask, are there any tendencies in particular that you're working on, like hashing out? Like, I know that for me, there are a couple that I am working diligently on, especially just in my GMing. Right now what I'm working on is I feel like at times I overwhelm my players, and I'm working on, like, drama is good for a certain level of, tension and action and stuff, but it's just like, you know what, I have to consider, giving everybody a moment to digest and cool down. And so that's something that I'm personally working on, like, just in terms of my TTRPG-ness.
That's good. Because I find, like, a lot of, like, big intense moments like that, especially, like, I have a tendency to cause drama for the sake of causing drama, when sometimes it, like, doesn't work for the story or the character or the vibe at all. But I think, especially when you take into consideration bleed, a lot of big moments like that are like real life. Like, you need maybe even a few days to, like, chill down from that and process what happened, and then talk to the people around you about what happened. Like, something really big just happened in the Realms game that the characters haven't even talked about yet, because I feel like both us and them haven't, like, fully processed that, spoiler alert, our friend's robot bird spoke English. Like, we can't even talk about that right now. So I think that is really good, to give your players a chance to breathe. And when you give them a chance to breathe, it gives them a chance to interact with each other and tell their own story, which means you get a break too.
Exactly. See, look, you already know what it takes to be a good GM.
You haven't seen me GM. It was bad. It was messy. Like, I had two voices that I did.
Do you know
Everyone
how
was either an old man or a gremlin.
Do you know
Fair.
how upsetting it would be if your first time GMing you killed it?
I know that I completely botched my first time GMing. Like, I panicked and we ended up playing something different because nobody was having fun.
Oh. I think maybe I'll run a few more things like just for my boyfriend, and then I'll ask the Realms crew. It's like, hey, I actually offered. We have a Patreon, and I was like, yo, you can make it like a particular tier that Momo will GM a game, not because it will be good, but because it will be bad. So I'll work my way up there, but I'm very content for now just learning how to play a wizard. And we'll focus on all the other classes.
In all
later.
fairness, the wizard is one of the harder classes to play.
I know people told me that, and I didn't listen. And in especially I was gonna say especially the early sessions, but like even now, you're gonna hear a lot of me not knowing how to play a wizard. But that's part of why I like Realms. Is because, you see a lot of people being like, oh, I'm not like the cast of Critical Role. I can't play, a TTRPG. Yeah, like, I'm not good at blah, 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 blah. So I wanted to release Realms and be like, hey, man, look at all these people that don't fucking know how to play D&D, playing D&D. And there's, like, I keep in a lot of, like, candid audio and a lot of, like, out-of-game stuff. And I keep in a lot of the conversations that we have being like, oh, I'm really nervous, like I'm not sure how to do this. And we have, the incredible seasoned players at our table, like Mike and Matt and Nox and Fabienne, who will come in and be like, hey, just take a breath. Like, I'm sure you can figure out what to do. Would you like some suggestions? And us just helping each other out. And I think that's something really important to see, because a lot of the times in these quite popular D&D podcast is it's all seasoned players who know what they're doing, and I think that makes a lot of new players really nervous. So while I look like an idiot so often, that is something that I want to share. I want to tell people it's like, hey, it's okay to be an idiot at first, because like everybody starts learning somewhere, and like I've been playing D&D for a very long time. I didn't get into it before like this year pretty much, but everybody learns at their own pace, and that doesn't mean that you can't have fun with your friends.
Well,
you know?
I mean, that's the thing, is even the people on Critical Role get it wrong sometimes. Or if you watch them in a one-shot, they don't know how to play the character mechanics perfectly on the first try.
Mm-hmm.
Like, take some inspiration from that.
And and I gotta say kudos to Nox and your vets for doing something that I think a lot of veteran players forget to do, and that's ask if somebody wants opinions or options or whatever. Because I know a lot of people come in with good intentions, like, oh, well, in this situation, it'd probably be best if you did this. You have that spell, right? So yeah, just go ahead and do that, and then this and that, and then everything's taken care of for you. Like, as a new player, that sucks. Like, let's just be honest, that sucks all the way around.
That especially,
so, yeah.
I don't think would fly at our table, because we have a lot of creative people that are not interested in min-maxing, and they're not looking for the best spell to do that is going to do the most damage. Like, we're looking for the most entertaining thing to do, and the thing that would be coolest for the story. So just having somebody be like, well, if you do this one, it's gonna do 34 points of bludgeoning damage, and I'm like, I don't care.
No, I want to use the grease spell.
Yeah.
Truly one of the most underrated spells in all of D&D.
Something very sweet that Nox did at one point that I didn't even catch on to, because a lot of the times I don't like notice certain things until I listen back to it another time. And there was like our first like big battle, like our first boss fight kind of situation. My character, and by my character I mean me, was freaking out, and at one point I go like, can I take like suggestions from the peanut gallery maybe? And Nox said, I think that Dawdle, who is my character, I think that Dawdle, if she took a second and thought things through and was patient with herself, that she would be able to come up with something really cool to do. And that was the move that I put Fury of the Small on a fireball and killed like 7 people. And that just meant so much to me to have that like almost like distance between being like, hey, you can do it. I'm not going to say you can do it, but you can do it. That just meant the world to me. And like the patience that Nox as a DM has for everybody at the table is really meaningful to me. And it gives us the space to like learn in our own time and do neat things. And I'm just very thankful for the understanding that everybody has at the table. Have you talked to Piper yet? Because I know that they're coming on the show at some point,
yes.
right?
Have not talked to her yet, but we are gonna. So
what's the date for that?
I need to finalize that with her.
Never mind.
Oh no, but I'm very excited because because we're gonna talk about this episode a lot, too. And I'm a huge fan of her cosplay, just huge.
They impress me every single day. Like, it's wild. Every time I do my makeup, I'm just like, I just want to be as pretty as Piper. How does Piper contour? WWPD. What would Piper do?
Piper did a cosplay of Yasha that was just outstanding. Just good God.
Mm-hmm.
Piper is also one of those people that I've definitely wanted to play a game with for a while now. I want to play with all the guests, honestly.
Piper is a delight to roleplay with. Like her their character Juniper Creed has kind of this underlying theme that carries through all their roleplay, where Juniper gives what she gets. Like if you treat her badly, she's going to treat you badly. If you treat her with kindness, she's going to treat you with kindness. And she's all about like keeping the balance, which really works because she's a nature cleric. And it's such a cool concept, and I love to see
nature
Piper
cleric
bring it to life.
Okay. I've got to check this out.
Not to rave about my own D&D podcast or anything, but all of the characters are so interesting to me, which is why I think I wanted to bring them to life in the way that I did, because all of my friends are so incredibly talented and creative. And at first glance, it does look like a bunch of humanoids and one goblin, which I think really works. I went on a rant about this in another stream, but I think that humans really work at a certain ratio. There's either got to be one human and a bunch of non-humans, or one non-human and a bunch of humans. Anyway, seemingly they're like all like very non-fantastical, but I think that really works, and they bring like such depth to the characters, all of which can be explained in really one sentence, which I think is again a good character concept to work with. Anyway,
if you don't mind my asking, and if you're able, can you give us a party rundown? Like,
absolutely. So I play Dawdle, who is a elvish princess that has been transformed into a goblin. Piper plays Juniper Creed, who is a nature cleric on a hunt for artifacts that were stolen from her culture. My boyfriend, Captain Krail, plays Maglo Mandorian, who is an explorer that was actually hunting for Dawdle's home island. So we have a little character tie there. It's Mike, I guess, playing Hawk, who is a knight that took a sword from the Raven Queen and is now a little cursed. We have Fabienne, who plays Saray, who is a very mysterious rogue. Who like even we as players like don't know a lot about her at this point. I think Illyri, Cosmary plays Illyri Seaborn, who is a very like Kaza herself is very charming and very charismatic. So I feel so confidently that Illyri could seduce the dragon without rolling a single thing. Kaza was made to play a bard, and she does it so well. She's very charming. She's very good at flirting with the NPCs and whatnot. And then Az plays Calder Grail, who is a cabin boy who is born on a ship And we actually find that ship at one point, and that's how we connect with that character, which is another really fun thing about Realms that I've never experienced at another table before. Is all of our stories have such weight, you know? Like I was like, Nox, I want to play a princess, and he was like, oh sure, kid. And then as the story went on, like people started trying to kidnap me for like political gain and stuff, and people would start talking about like, oh, they say like, you know, a lost princess from Evermeet could start a war and stuff. And I was like, I didn't know that was actually gonna mean something. I just wanted to play a Disney princess, which like now I love because it works. And you feel so much more invested in the story when like each character has a part of it. Like Maglomandorian, the explorer looking for the island of Evermeet, has this book with notes that he's gathered about how to find it. And there's now a bounty out on that book. Like all of these and that's part of why I think it reads more like an animated show, is because it's not just us on this like track, and it didn't matter like who we were playing or anything. All of these characters have such stakes in this overall story that we're telling.
Everybody seems to be a pillar to the story.
Yeah, and that's not something I was expected, because I don't know if I would have chosen to play a princess. Every time an NPC or like another character is like, oh yes, your highness, I'm just like, oh my god. We had, I don't know if you follow Gabe James, but they were a guest recently, and oh my god, Gabe being like, oh yes, princess. I was like, I can't do this, man. I like completely broke character, and I like had to pause for a second and be like, okay,
time out.
Yeah, exactly, because I'm like, oh my god, whose decision was this? It wasn't mine. But yeah, it's really cool playing characters with weight in a story, you know.
Oh, that sounds so cool, and I love that your DM was able to add that weight, and just to give you unforeseen consequences to giving you what you want.
I remember like, sorry, you finish.
Oh no, go ahead. I was just gonna say, like I love DMs that don't say no, but they do add the terms and conditions that nobody.
Oh
reads.
Yeah, Nox is fantastic for that. And I remember like the first time that I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to take this princess thing a little bit more seriously, is I was like put in jail because I had something else going on and had to miss a couple of sessions. So I was like, we're just gonna throw our character in jail. And I was being interrogated by these two like really scary dudes, and they're like, who are you? Who taught you these magic? Blah, 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 blah. And at one point I was just being Momo, and I was like, I'm the princess of Evermeet. And Nox goes on to describe very seriously one of these characters taking a seeing stone out of his pocket and putting it to his eye and squinting and then leaving the room. And I went, oh. It's like, oh, I should not say that so frivolously anymore. And from that point on, like,
you've done a whoopsie.
I've said it a million times that it's so cool to have a character with weight in the overall world, you know.
Oh, that is so extraordinarily cool. So it makes me want to ask this, which is, if you could have any person on Earth be a guest on Realms, who would it be?
Good question.
I mean, Ginny D is up there, obviously, but I'm sure I'll twist her elbow one day.
We gotta make it happen. We gotta get Ginny D on there.
Oh yeah. I'm trying. Anybody? I played a Kids on Brooms game. Anybody on that was at that table with me. They were all incredible. Give me a second. You guys answer if you would have guests on your games before I give my final answer.
Oh, for Kingsguard?
Okay. Yeah, who would you have on Kingsguard?
Ooh.
I'm neutral in this.
You're neutral in this as the GM who was running the game?
Yes.
I'd like to see Sharif Jackson.
Okay.
I think Sharif could bring a very interesting.
No, I love that idea. The man is a genius. Man is funny. I'm too worried about him being able to solve all my puzzles in a second.
I just got something from someone that I'm gonna have to send to Noir in the DMs real quick.
Yeah.
Real quick.
I'm just watching Momo's brain go. I literally feel like I saw you go. Maybe no. Maybe no.
Yeah, I'm very expressive. It's fun when I'm editing the slides for Realms. I have to like liquefy the faces to emote for different scenarios, and oftentimes I'll just be sitting at my laptop and go like, because I have to like know where an eyebrow sits and stuff. I might just settle on Ginny D because I can't decide.
That's a good pick though.
And I mean, like, part of our branding for we actually had Gabe on because I don't know if I'm allowed to say, but he actually listened to our show and showed interest, and so Nox got him on. But like, part of our branding is we are all friends, and a lot of us know Ginny personally, and like I love talking to Ginny, and I feel like that's a show we could actually get at some point.
One of those easy choices.
Yeah, and I always enjoy my time at a table better when I know the people personally, because I'm like less nervous and I understand their boundaries a little bit better. Yeah. So I think it would be Ginny because a lot of us know her personally, and I think she's very talented. And I'd be lying if I said there wasn't an opportunity for clout there. So,
it's Jenny friggin' D. But I mean, but in all fairness, it's Momo friggin' alright. Like you're up there too. So no.
I wish not to be. Please do not perceive me.
Don't perceive.
No photos.
Need that invisibility cloak. Oh man. So when cons open up, is that going to be something that you're going to be taking a part of? I know a couple of cons that would probably love to have you like as a panelist or something.
I mean, if they invite me and I can afford it and schedule it, like I think that's neat. It strokes my ego in the best way to be panelists and guests and whatnot. And it looks good to all of the people on Facebook. So yeah, of course. I also love. Like, there was I think the last time I was a panelist was I did the YouTube panel at Anime North, which is the anime convention in Toronto. And there was this really cool moment where, like, I did the panel. And I was on the panel with, like, people twice bigger than me. And I got off that panel and, like, one girl came up to me and we started talking and blah, 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 blah. And then I, like, looked behind her and I noticed that there was, like, 10 other girls just, like, looking around and stuff behind her. And I was just like, is anybody else here to see me? And they all kind of went. And we all just like sat in a circle and just vibed, and it was so nice. So yeah, I'm a little nervous to go to cons now because, you know, I've gotten older and recognize that I'm awkward and stuff, and crowds. God, I hate crowds, but it is really fun to like see the faces behind the numbers that I have, and it's, you know, it's nice to talk in front of an audience and stuff. So that's a very long way to say yes. But,
oh yeah.
I see. I that's the thing that would freak me out is if anybody were ever like, you know, I came here to like see you. That's where my whole shit shuts down. Like, no, you didn't.
I think it was helpful that it was all girls. This is gonna be like unnecessarily deep, but like I was a LARP YouTuber in a time where there was no LARP YouTubers, and there definitely wasn't a lot of girls to look up to in the LARP community, and that meant like any tweet or message I get that tells me it's like, you made me feel like it was okay to be feminine in a masculine space, that shit keeps me going. And it's one of the very few things that does. So I think it was just so neat to, and at one point when we were all just like sitting in this circle and talking, I didn't talk for the longest time, and I just got to see them talk to each other and talk about like, oh my god, I love your cosplay, oh thank you, it took me like one night, no way, and like them just talking to each other, and like I just had this moment where I was like, we're a little community, and this is nice. Like I'm a very shy person. I'm a very shy person.
I feel that.
But it is nice to see the fruits of my labor, you know, in that way. And now I get to talk about realms at cons, which is fun.
Do you think there'd ever be a chance for a Realms live show?
Oh my god, yeah. I would adore that. We have talked about like, I mean, we have tons of talks about like, I feel like every D&D podcast does, where it's like, when we're as famous as Critical Role and we get all this fan art and blah blah blah, we're gonna do all this stuff. So we have talked about doing a live show. I know the Scabby Rooster has like an incredible setup. Like they have like an actual tavern that they do, you know, outside of the Puma Paradise. They have, I don't know, Puma Paradise. They usually do like live streams in that actual tavern space. I've done a live stream there. It was so cool. They have like fog machines and stuff. Love to do a show there. I'd love to do a Realms live show, but I require a puppet. That's my, I've told people, because a lot of people are like, oh, you should cosplay Dawdle, and I have cosplayed the elf version because I tried to cosplay the goblin version and it just didn't work, because in my head, if we ever did like a live action Realms movie, she would not be an actress or like CGI, she would be a puppet. She'd be Baby Yoda. So if we have, it's my dream for if we ever do a live show, I can just have like a little puppet Dawdle to like say all my lines as we go. But that's end game stuff.
Perception Studios, get on it. I'm calling you, chunk.
I'd hate to take that opportunity away from Az and Nox, who are both avid puppet lovers. So we'll see. But again, that's far down the line. I think we need a few more views at this point.
That's like a Patreon tier to itself.
Yeah. But yeah, I think what we've made is cool, and that's more important to me than the views. You know, the views would be nice, but
seriously, I mean, it's a meta game, chasing the numbers and also making sure that what you make is what you're proud of.
Yeah, I mean, like as a person who like has gone viral a couple times, I would so much rather just having my comment section be like, oh my god, this is so cool, than for it to pop up on the feed of somebody who wants to shit on it, you know? And that's, again, something I've worked on in psychotherapy, is like being proud of my work for what it is, and not how much attention or validation I get from outside sources, you know? So like, are you okay?
Oh yeah, I coughed real. I coughed real hard.
Oh, it hurt.
Okay. I was like, is me talking about creative work getting Noir choked up?
I mean, yeah, sure. I need people to believe I have emotions. No, I'm secretly getting my cough medicine over here. Don't mind me.
Okay. But yeah, I just think that we've made something cool.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Well, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so what would you imagine? And this is a question that I ask myself all the time with Kingsguard, because that's where my heart is right now. What would the end game for Realms look like to you? If everything went your way, you got all the views that you needed to get any company that you wanted to sponsor you to do whatever, what would the end game of Realms look like?
Whenever I think about it, I don't really think about the sponsors. We have people on our team who do think about that, thank God. But like my dream is to be able to get off a live session and be able to check the Realms Apart art tag and to see lots of things there. Like I'd love to have a fan base big enough to have like fan content. Like part of why I started doing these like heavy edits and animatics and stuff is because part of what helped me feel connected to the story of Critical Role is seeing the animatics that people did and you know, the fan edits and stuff. And I was like, God, I wish all of Critical Role was like that. So I did it. But that's the dream, is to just see somebody else, another creative who loves your creative work so much that they want to spend their time adding to it. You know, like I love all of the D&D fan art that I've seen, and we have gotten like a little bit of fan art, which is really cool. But yeah, that's the dream for me, is to have people like write fan songs or you know, do fan art or make their own animatics, or like a little daydream that I've had in my head is, you know how people like take Studio Ghibli screenshots and they'll like draw it in their style. I have this little daydream of people taking like the slides that I've made for Realms and like actually drawing them out. Stuff like that. But yeah, I don't really think about like the sponsors or even like the amount of people that we get. I don't think about like big live shows or anything. I just want to see art.
That is probably the biggest compliment that any show can get, is just to have people so invested that your art inspires other art.
Yeah.
I still remember the first piece of fan art show of mine ever got. I'm not gonna lie, I cried like a baby.
Oh, but when I was in a one shot and I got fan art from it, and that just made my heart grow 5 sizes that day. You got a cross stitch though from Kelsey for Kingsguard.
I still have that here.
That's so cool.
So I had an NPC named Duncan who runs a donut shop.
That's so cute.
And she made a cross stitch. Stone Heart runs on Duncan.
That's so sweet. Oh, and like needlepoint takes a long time too.
It does.
So
but Kelsey is insanely talented at cross stitching and crocheting. She just got commissioned by one of my players who has a pseudo dragon as a familiar. She was commissioned to make a pseudo dragon out of crochet.
And it is full size.
It is full sized.
Oh, that's so cool.
And it's so gorgeous. I can't recommend her enough. She's a crochet old lady on
you should send me their details, because one of the things that Az said in their ADHD and D&D thing is because of like the invisible information thing. If you have a pet in D&D, sometimes having a visual representation, so like a stuffed animal of that pet, is helpful. And I have a chicken in Realms that I was like, oh my god, I want to commission somebody to make Harold now, so I can just like cuddle him and hold him while I'm playing the game. And remember, he's there, because oftentimes we'll finish a big fight and then Nox will be like, and Harold pops out of Doddle's bag, and we'll all go like, oh my god, are you okay? Which is like very funny, but it'd be helpful to remember that I do in fact have a chicken.
It's the whole sprinkle situation from Critical Role.
It's absolutely a sprinkle situation. Yeah.
I can't accept that Sprinkles is still alive. It fundamentally bothers me.
They recently did a plot development for Sprinkle.
You can spoil it.
Sprinkle's the traveler the whole time.
No, that's so cool.
Are you serious?
Yes, that's how our Titan keeps an eye on Chester.
Oh my god, incredible.
It's the only explanation.
I'm putting Healy, the pseudo dragon, in the green room as well as Kelsey's Twitter.
Thank you.
Definitely give her a look because she is insanely talented. It is ridiculous. Um, uh, my question to you is going to be like, as a GM, I'm curious. Uh, you are playing a elfin princess who is in the body of a gnome, of a goblin. Correction. Do you feel that you could? Do you feel that you are becoming attached to the goblin version of this character?
Absolutely. Like at one point, Nox's like internet went out or something, and whenever that happens, we always joke. It's like, oh, we're the DM now, and stuff. And then Nox popped back on, and Captain Trail was like, "Hey Nox, Doddle's turned back into an elvish princess," and he went, "Well, that sounds boring, but okay." Like, I absolutely agree. Like, I think that there is a point in her story where it will make sense. Because my end game for Dodalia, which is her original name, Doddle is like a nickname. My end game for her is having her be like the king Theoden of Rohan, and like to have those big speeches and to be like a proper monarch, you know? But I think it makes sense that early in her story, she's like, I just want to eat meat pies and have fun, you know? And it's way more fun. Like, I just use her as an excuse to like do a fucking dumb goblin voice once a week. And it's so fun. But I feel like once we get closer to like the end game of the story and things get a little bit more serious and, you know, she takes her responsibility to, you know, being the heir of a lost civilization a little bit more seriously, there will be a time where it will no longer be time for dumb goblin voice. It's not going to be for quite some time, though. But absolutely, I'm very attached to doing my dumb little goblin voice. And she's so cute and doofy, and I love it so much. And I know that when the time comes to turn into a hot elvish princess, I will miss my little goblin, and I think that part of her will as well. But I don't intend on ever playing it like the Shrek direction. I don't ever plan on her being like, no, I'm choosing to remain a goblin, because that's not the story I want to tell. I want to be like, no, this isn't me. This isn't me, and I refuse to die in this body. And I think it'll make the moment of her changing back a lot more meaningful, because it's like, fuck, thank God.
I do back. Have to.
But for now, it's fun.
I do have to tell you that you now made me imagine King Theoden talking like this, and it is doing things in my head. I
mean, you should check out Realms then, because like that's how I play her. Like, I don't play her as a goblin. I play her as an elvish princess doing a goblin voice. So how I introduce myself to other characters will be like, hello, my name is Doddle. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I'm so happy that we'll be getting to know each other better from here on out. Like, I speak very polite, and I really amp up the Canadian as I talk, but I'm doing it in this dumb little goblin voice, and these people will be like, hey, you speak politely, and then I have to realize it's like, oh right, being a princess is wait, I should be more inconspicuous. But yeah, that's basically what it is. It's like, it's a Disney princess as a goblin, and that's part of what makes it so fun to play.
It's giving me some Vanellope von Schweetz vibes.
Oh yeah.
Oh hell yeah, best Disney
I have hereby decree that all of you shall be executed.
So, if you had the chance to have Realms become a live action movie or TV show, my question to you would be, would you want to play your character, or is that something that you can imagine handing off to somebody else to play?
I'm not a professionally trained voice actress. I have done voice acting. I would like to see a professional voice actress maybe take on the role. Like, I don't know if Laura Bailey's doing anything.
Laura Bailey's always doing
I
something.
mean,
Yeah, I'm a pretty proud person. I will admit this. I have an insane amount of creative hubris. But I do recognize that I am not professionally trained, and I think it would be interesting to see someone who is take on this little goblin voice that I've been developing. I'd like to play like a cameo role or something. Like if she ever meets another goblin at some point, I'd like to be like, ah! I don't know. But that seems like, because of my creative hubris and because I want things to be as good as they can be, that seems like something I would swallow and hand off to somebody else who knows a little bit more about voice training and whatnot.
You are a better person than me. I don't know. I'm too selfish with my character.
I'm not saying it would be easy. It would not. I'd cry for days. But I know that somebody else out there could do a better job than me. I definitely want it to like... I definitely couldn't swallow my pride enough to let her take a different direction with it, because I have been developing the Dawdle voice for quite some time, and even though it's still like it changes based on like how my throat is that day and stuff, I did put a lot of thought into it. Like this, like
It's like almost a little babyish, so it's still kind of cute. But when she gets mad, it's like it's a little growlier, but most of the time it's quite polite.
and like I have put a lot of thought into like what it is. So I'd like to like direct the voice actress a little bit and maybe work with her. But yeah, somebody else could do a better job than me. But right now it's mine.
And only mine.
Yeah.
How about you, Anita? Could you see allowing somebody else to play one of your characters?
I think probably. I think someone with a little bit better acting chops could do some of my characters a little bit more justice. I'm also like, I mean, Yena's voice is about here, with a little bit of a Slavic accent, so it's very easy to do. It's just basically my take on the Yasha's voice.
I would just fist fight anybody who tried to play my characters offer. No! It's all I have!
To be fair,
I mean,
though,
I feel like if I was playing a humanoid character that looked like me and didn't like do an accent or anything, like I'd absolutely, because like I feel quite confident in my acting ability.
But Donald's voice is weird.
So like that's an area that I'm not professionally trained in, but I am a professionally trained actress. So I feel like if the character just looked and talked like me, for sure, no one else is getting that role. You know how hard it is to get into Hollywood? I'm taking that shot.
Yeah,
but
the thing is
it's
doing a funny voice is one thing, but doing a funny voice for 8 hours in a recording booth is an entirely different animal.
I mean, it's also like that was part of developing Dawdle's voice. Like I remember the first few sessions we did that we didn't record, I would walk away from that and like not be able to talk for a while.
The part of developing Donald's voice is realizing, like, what would sound goblin-y, but also wouldn't hurt my voice too much. So I could do this for, like, we've done, like, not 8 hours, maybe 7 hours of recording like this.
And part of developing the voice is figuring out what wasn't gonna hurt my voice. Like when we started out, that like growly thing that I did, I would do that all the time and realize that you cannot. So now it's more as like a emotional enhancer when she gets like mad or something. I only pull it out for special occasions, you know. But that was part of developing the voice, is realizing like, oh, I'm gonna have to do this for long periods at a time and not wrecking my voice every session.
Have some angry goblin as a treat.
Pretty much, yeah.
Little angry
so now it's
goblin.
like it's kind of just like, and like I say that I haven't been like professionally trained for voice acting, but I was professionally trained for singing, and that came in handy because I learned how to like control my voice in that way, like learning how to make it a little more nasally and where to project it and stuff like that, and that helped me develop a weird goblin voice.
AJ in chat, I'll gladly let them take my characters, but if they could like train me to be better at voices in games, sign me up.
Oh, I didn't consider that. Dawdle's mine. I'm just gonna take a couple classes. I didn't even think about that as an option. Fuck you, Laura Bailey.
We're starting the fight right here. Let's get it.
Yeah.
So, speaking of lore, Bailey, and this is we're winding down here a little bit, but I've got a question that I think about every now and then. Let's say by some miracle you get asked on to Critical Role. Do you make a new character or bring one of your existing? And if so, which of your existing?
I have an answer for this actually. So I played in a private game that Captain Crail, who streams on Twitch and is in chat, ran for me and some friends of his when I was visiting him in the UK. Is me not knowing anything about D&D, I went up to him and I was like, "Yo, can I play a robot?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, they have these things called Warforged." And I was like, "Cool, I'm bringing Wally." So what I did is I pre-recorded all of my lines. So I had different folders on my hard drive for like greetings, fights, jokes, and stuff, like different moods. And I would pre-record lines like, "Hello, Sebian," because her name was Sebian. It was like 5E1, that kind of thing. "Nice to meet you." And I'd bring it into GarageBand and I'd like auto-tune it and add like a robot filter.
Yeah.
And so I sat down with these people at the table who had no idea what I was playing. And Matt was like, "Oh, this like cute little robot walks over to you." And they're like, "Oh, hello, what's your name?" And I just hit play and it went, "Sevian, nice to meet you." And that is the character that I would bring onto Critical Role because it was surprisingly easy to play. I was actually really concerned, like, going through all these folders and stuff. It was actually really fun to play. It was fun for other people to work off of. The amount of phrases that I had chosen meant I wasn't really stuck communicating anything at any given moment because they were, like, pretty vague. Like, one of them was like, "Bad guy, fight, fight," like, stuff like that. And it was actually pretty easy to maneuver around any scenario with those very vague phrases. But if I ever did get stuck, I would just go like, "Bleep bloop that way," which would cause a laugh. So I never really felt stuck. But I know I am an incredibly nervous person that hates doing things live. So if I was ever on Critical Role, I would die. So I think this idea of having a completely pre-prepared character that just requires me to go through pre-prepared phrases and hit play that is fun for other people and fun for me, I think that would work. And because I've been on like bigger live shows and I freeze up and it affects my performance, which is why I specified to the Realms crew, "Hey, if we're going to do like live plays, can we pre-record it and then just present it as if it's live?" Because I think my performance is the top priority. And I don't want that to suffer, especially if I'm on like a bigger show, So I think having a completely pre-prepared character works. So that is the character that I would bring onto Critical Role, as a little robot.
Matt,
my emails are open, momo.o'brien.business@gmail.com.
Matt Mercer, you heard the pitch here. Everybody make it happen because I want to see.
Oh, they're getting Ginny on first, or like Critical Bard or somebody. I am so low on the list, but like a girl can dream.
Oh my God, that would be just. They can have more than one guest. They've done it before. I want all three of them. Get Critical Bard, Ginny,
we could play like
and
triplets.
MoMo.
That'd be fun.
Triplet robots. Yeah. Let's make it. Well, Critical Bard's custom class is all about harmony, so that works perfectly. God, that would be sick.
I'd love to. I haven't had a chance to play with Ginny or Critical Bard at any point, but I've spoken to both of them offline, so I would love to share a table with one or both of them at any point.
I've had the good fortune of playing with Critical Bard. He GM'd me, and I played in another game he was in. Good guy all the way around. Highly recommended. I have not ever talked to Jenny, but I would love to. That would be fun because I'm
She's
a
lovely.
huge fan. Let's see. Nino, who would you bring? New character or somebody else?
Oh, I'd bring Odd. Absolutely, I'd bring Odd.
Okay.
My wild magic sorceress.
And my whole goal, if I were ever on Critical Role, it would be to outbrood Liam. It would just be a brood off.
So how?
We would see who's the edgiest boy at the table. I'm going full Hot Topic.
Nice.
Every word out of my mouth is gonna be My Chemical Romance lyric. It'll be great.
Not a single family member left alive.
You know, my backstory is when I was a young boy, my father took me into the city to see a marching band.
That's better.
So I never go full Hot Topic. It's too late, Sphinx. I'm already gone. Since we're winding down here, I just want to ask: is there anything else that you wanted to discuss? Anything that you're curious about, interested about? Anything you want to share with our audience before we call it?
Is everybody having a good day?
The answer is
Crunch. Crunch is the answer we got back.
Don't love it.
I should apologize for our audience.
Don't. No, never. They're delightful.
No, I'm just kidding.
Like I said, I respect someone's choice to crunch.
I don't.
if that is what you would like to do with your time is crunch, then by all means.
My dream goal is to share a table with B. Dave Walters and Gabe Hicks. I've played with Gabe. I have not played with B. Dave, but I really want to.
Yeah.
Gabe's incredible. I'm so happy.
I
got to share a table.
I'm almost certain that Gabe is an actual fey creature. The more you look at this person's Twitter, the more it's just like, okay, clearly they're just messing with me. Like, you can't tell me that's not a fey creature of some sort. I don't know if you saw on Black Fae Day. He was dressed in
multiple looks, right?
Yeah, multiple looks. One of them was like a purple blue aesthetic with like just perfect eye makeup. Too perfect, in fact. So perfect that I'm certain that it wasn't makeup and that Gabe just showed us the true form. I'm starting it now. I'm starting the conspiracy. Crazy Americans can start QAnon. I'm starting Gabe Gate. Gabe Gate. Gabe Gate starts here, and it's that Gabe is an actual fey creature, and they're just messing with us.
Well, spoiler alert, the character that Gabe does bring onto Realms eventually does come from the Feywild, but I will say no more.
Oh, color me surprised. Color me surprised. I'm not Gabe.
Yeah, they played it very well.
Get it trending. I want to get a deal from Gabe later today going, what did you do?
I'll message him now and be like, I'm so sorry.
Go with what's familiar. Exactly.
AJ, if you're still in chat, please clip it.
Gabe is an actual Fae. You can't tell me otherwise. Here's my proof that Gabe is a Fae. How does one person do all the things Gabe does in one day? I have seen Gabe in 20 actual plays all at once.
Didn't he just also reveal that he's been working on the Ukatoa board game that Critical Role is releasing?
Yeah,
and he's making a dating simulator for goblins. Making a goblin dating simulator that looks so cute.
And we
were talking about the many pots earlier.
He was on Crimson Spires with D.
And he works with Roll20. He's got the talk show Table Talks. Gabe is a Fae creature.
Or consider
okay,
vampire. He doesn't sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And he does give off a ancient ethereal vibe.
I've seen him in the sun.
He has been living for many years.
I've seen him in the sun too much. It's the problem. I thought that too.
Maybe he has one of those magic rings from Vampire Diaries.
Oh yeah, Damien's ring.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe the sun thing is a myth.
I don't watch Vampire Diaries. Leave me alone.
I watched Jenny Nicholson's video about Vampire Diaries, which I think covers the whole experience. If you haven't seen it, it's such a good video.
We gotta check that out. But okay, I will pay anybody $50 if they can bring me proof that game is a fake creature.
I mean, they could just present you with a picture of Gabe.
Gabe.
I feel like that's enough.
Yeah, I'll go broke pretty quick. That's not how I thought the show would end today with Game Gate, but you know what? I kind of like it.
Thank you,
I kinda
AJ. We'll take that clip and we'll send it to Gabe.
You okay? Nora, you need some water?
I think it might be time for his nap.
Oh yeah.
It might be
Take a
time for my
breath, buddy.
nap. I'm just laughing at the DM that I might get later on, which is why would you do this?
I also just noticed I don't have pronouns because I don't know how to do that on Zoom, but I'm she, her.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't
went
want
off your
people
Twitter
thinking
profile.
that I'm somebody that doesn't want to put pronouns in their thing. I'm just not technologically savvy.
Oh, it's great. It's fine. They can't see that. That's just,
Okay. I'm still she, her.
There's the overlays on there is I grabbed it
we
from
got
your
you.
Twitter as she, her.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, we got your back.
Thank you.
That said, I think we should wrap up here. Momo, this has been fantastic. You we'll let you start off our outros. Tell the people who you are, where they can find you, what you want to pitch to them.
Hello, I am Momo O'Brien. You can find me everywhere, mainly YouTube, at Momo_O'Brien. I make content about immersive experiences all around the world, and I'm also the producer and the voice of a little goblin on Realms Apart, the new animatic D&D show.
All right. So, look at how clean and professional that was.
I've just done it so many times. Like, I remember when we had Gabe on Realms and we did like another roundtable introduction thing, but it wasn't online. I just said, "Hi, I'm Momo. I'm a disaster." Moving on. Like, you just get used to it after so many people are like, "Hey, Momo, introduce yourself." You just learn what to say.
Noir, that leaves you and then me, and then we'll
all right.
boogie on out of here.
Now you see the professional do it. Get ready for the dumpster fire. Hey everybody. I'm Noir. You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok as the Noir Enigma because I finally remembered my password to TikTok. All right. You can find me on Tuesday nights over on Bar the Barbarian's channel, where I play in Outbreak, which is a zombie game. The zombie apocalypse just started in the middle of a comic book convention, but don't worry, we got Gary Yules out of there safe.
Did you though?
Huh?
Did you though?
Look, I need to lie to the people. I'm sure Gary Yules is fine. We left him in a bunker. Nothing bad has ever happened to Gary Yules in a bunker.
Soft?
Mondays, you can find me right here on Critical Misses, where I GM Kingsguard, which is a 5th edition campaign set in the homebrew world of Gloria, which is a campaign setting that I have been working on for the past 20 years, because I am an old man. On Wednesdays, you can find me over on Chromatic Chimera for their flagship show, Woven Realm, which uses the 13th Age TTRPG system, which has been fantastic. I've got some other projects coming up pretty soon that I can't wait to be able to spill the beans on. I will say that if you have enjoyed our work on Roll20's Kids on Bikes, keep your ear to the pavement. That's as much as I can say without giving a shot. And for everything else, you can check out my pinned Twitter post, which has my full schedule. And if you want to work with me, that's where you can find all the information you need for that. Boom, dumpster fire. Your turn, baby.
Hi, I'm Anita or Panita or Critical Misses. You can find me everywhere at Panita or at Critical Misses. I am a TTRPG streamer, so you can find me here Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. Mondays for Kingsguard, our Roll20 Spotlight show. Wednesdays for Under the Pale Cold Sun, a Vampire the Masquerade 5e Chronicle. Fridays for System Crash, where we play random games with no prep and no clue. And then Saturdays, again, for Morning Ritual. And our guest next week is Diana D'Amico.
Yep.
Yeah.
From Bards and Barbarians.
From Bard and Barbarian. So we're going to have a chat with her next week.
And it's right after her birthday too, so we gotta really get hype, y'all. There's one last thing I forgot to mention, and I'm mentioning it now before I get yelled at in my DMs. I am a stretch goal for the Necrobiotic Kickstarter. I am writing a module that's heavily inspired by the movie Crank, Crank 2, and Happy. So if that's your bag, definitely consider going to the Necrobiotic Kickstarter and showing them some love. We're already funded. It's just a matter of hitting our stretch goal. After you get me, you got one by Draconomics, who's also going to be writing a module for the game. So it's going to be fantastic. Really think that you guys are going to get into it. But that's everything that I have to pitch, or at least that's everything I can remember. I'm sure a DM will come after the show. I'll get yelled at.
But we're going to go on a raid for now. We're going to, speaking of Necrobiotic, Raven's online, and they are playing Necrobiotic, so we can head over there and say hello.
Look at that synergy. It's almost like we planned it.
Almost.
Synergy.
So yeah, we're going to pop over to Raven's channel. We're going to go say hi over there, spread some love. Thank you all so much for stopping by and hanging out with us today. And Momo, thank you so much for coming and chatting with us.
Thank you for having me. That was really fun.
It's been such a delight. This has been great.
But until next time, everybody, the ritual has concluded. Bye now.
Bye. #GameGate.